Aita for banning my wife's friend from my house after pushed me for taking my drunk wife home. My wife is 27 and I am 28, my wife has a friend, a bit of a close friend, in fact she's been friends with her since past 2 years, I don't like her at all and a lot of people find her insufferable. This weekend my wife told me that she's going to her friend's house and she'll spend her evening and night at her place with their 2 other friends. I asked her if they'll drink, she told me yes but she won't go overboard this time and she'll book a cab and come to home before 10. I told my wife that she won't book a cab, I'll come pick her up and she shouldn't drink a lot. She promised me she won't, but I had this feeling that she might drink too much cause my wife has tendencies of overdrinking especially when she's excited and partying, so I went to pick her up an hour before. When I showed up at her friend's place I saw all these drunk women dancing, drinking, and screaming like they ran out of mental asylum and my wife was laying on the couch clearly drunk. I grabbed my wife and told her it's time to leave. Her friend stopped me and insisted to let my wife stay for a bit longer and even my wife said to wait for a bit. I told them that they've been having fun and drinking for so many hours and it's more than enough for today. When I tried to leave with my wife her friend tried to stop me a bit forcefully and when I didn't listen to her she pushed me and called me controlling and cursed me in front of everyone. I told her that the only reason I am not retaliating is because she's a woman and I'm in her house, but from this moment she's not allowed in my house and if she comes over to my house ever again I'll call the police. I left with my wife and after we got home I fed her which she puked at midnight and went to sleep with me and she didn't sleep until midnight and didn't let me sleep either and kept saying, my husband, and hugged me and she kept complimenting me. I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that, but anyway now her friends all of them are telling me that I'm being a controlling husband and I have no right to tell my wife what she can and she can't do and I don't have the right to ban her friend from her house. Am I the asshole? Sure, I'm a bit angry but my anger is not without a reason and if I appear as a controlling husband I think my wife's situation warrants it and I'm just doing what I think is best for my wife. Stories number 2. In-laws straining my marriage but it's my fault apparently. First post, so bear with me. About a year ago, me, 28F, and my husband, 30M, allowed my BL, 19M, to move in with us to get him out of a rough situation and help him start adulting. This was about May of last year. I agreed to have him move in with the promise from BIL and husband that it was only going to be a couple of months until BIL found a roommate to move out with. He is also to pay some rent monthly as he has a full-time job now, keep his area clean, and help out around the house. Keep in mind I have 2 children under the age of 5 and also work, and I'm still the housekeeper. Cleaning, cooking food, etc. While my husband also works about 60 hours a week. Fast forward those couple of months, no luck on finding a roommate. BL still living with us. Okay, he's young. I'm just gonna give him some more time to figure this out. I'm trying to be understanding and gracious, as I also had some help getting on my feet at this age. I have confronted BL a few times asking, so how is the roommate search going? You found an apartment yet? Only to be answered with shrugs and, I don't know. I will say, at this point I'm starting to feel in the dark with what is actually going on. As in, is there even a plan of him moving out? Is he even looking for a roommate or an apartment? Husband says just give him more time and that he's working on it. Frustrated, it's Christmas time now and he's requesting to have his girlfriend of 2 years, who lives out of state, to move in too with the promise that she has a job and they will move out in 1 month. I tell my husband that I'm not comfortable with it, as BIL was not supposed to be here at this time in the first place. Husband says I'm overreacting and starts making comments of making me sound like I don't care about his family. Angry, I just shut down and keep my mouth shut to avoid the argument. My next mistake. Girlfriend moves in and surprise, doesn't have a job and claims she's been looking for one for 3 months now since living under my roof. Fast forward to now. Rent is not being paid anymore, the cleaning of their own areas have stopped, and there has been absolutely no trying to find a way to move out of my home. I've quit asking bail questions to keep myself from being furious and directed the questions towards my husband. At this point I'm done trusting that my husband has any plan or control in this whole situation, which is driving me insane. Anytime I bring it up to my husband, I'm met with hostility and accusations of just wanting to throw his family out on the street and that I shouldn't be upset with this because I agreed to it. Agreed to what? Yes, I agreed to BL moving in for a couple of months, yes I graciously gave him extra time to figure things out. At this point I no longer feel comfortable in my own home and every day me and my husband argue about it which always turn into very ugly outcomes. We don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. I'm annoyed that I've been conned into taking on 2 grown adults, while trying to raise my own family. I'm angry that I'm being made out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to be helpful. I don't know what to do anymore. I guess my main question to the Reddit world is, Aita, because I let this all happen in the first place. Top comments. Commenter 1, it is your fault. You allowed yourself to get into this situation because you have no backbone and you're allowing yourself to be treated like a welcome mat. You need an adult meeting with the 4 of you. You need a timeline of when these adults are leaving your home. If your husband doesn't support this, you need a timeline of when you're removing yourself and your children from this environment. You need to follow through. Your NTA though. Reply, thanks for the honesty, I do feel it is my fault for allowing it to go this far without any real action on my part. I guess this is a learning opportunity for me to not internalize my feelings until it's too late. Commenter 2, NTA, but that sounds like a terrible situation. Something you may not have considered, if the GF or BL go the legal route, because they have been there that long they could actually fight being evicted. Your husband is the AH in this case. Tell him he has to clean up their area, make their dinner etc. Any food they eat should come out of his spending money. Commenter 3, you have a DH problem. Get into marriage counseling. Find alternate housing for you and the kids. Now, if counseling doesn't work out, take your kids and visit family or friends for a couple of weeks and let him sort it out with his brother and then tell him the condition that you will return home is when they are gone or you won't return and you can divorce. Commenter 4, NTA. You're effectively a doormat for your scheming and conniving husband. Either take the kids and split, or throw the husband and freeloaders out. If you don't, you'll be in the exact same position 10 years from now. Update. BL, 19M, and his GF has overstayed their welcome in my, 28F, and my husband's, 30M, home. 10 plus months for the BIL and 3 plus months for the GF. I was conned into the whole situation when both husband and BL said it would only be for a couple months, which was last May. Rent has stopped being paid, cleaning of their own areas stopped and there has been no attempt of them to leave my home. I'm uncomfortable in my own home and my husband absolutely blows up at me anytime I bring it up, and accuses me of hating his family and wanting to throw them out on the street. Aita, first I would like to say thank you all for the different perspectives. Most of all the responses said I should just kick all 3 of them out and say good riddance. I will say, some of the responses gave me a good little laugh in this extremely frustrating situation, so thank you for that too. Taking everything into consideration, I gave my husband an ultimatum last night and I'm sticking to it. They need to be gone by June 1st, with all rent paid according to how I had laid it out or else I'm moving out with the kids into an apartment. I'm also not cooking for them, just enough for me and the kids, all laundry detergents and toiletries will be kept in my closet and internet passwords will be changed. Now, before I get, 2 months is too much time for them, hear me out. This is also time for me to get my ducks in a row should I actually be moving out. Which, in theory, I'll know by mid-May if they aren't moving out if they don't have anything lined up by then. I really do doubt my husband is wanting this to actually happen, me and the kids moving out, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking that I'm bluffing. All in all, I would hope it doesn't have to come to that point. I am happy to learn though after sketching a quick budget, that I would be able to support me and both of my children with my own income if worst came to worst. Thanks again. Top comments. What did OOP's husband say after she told him? Reply, he was surprisingly not as hostile as he usually has been. I say, not as, because there was no yelling swearing. He pretty much said I was overreacting and crazy to think that would even need to happen in the first place since they'll be out by then. If you could see my eye roll right now, SMH. Commenter 1, yeah, he doesn't believe you have any intention of actually leaving. I would let him know if you leave there will be no reconciling and you will divorce and demand the house be sold, so one way or another they will be moving out. Reply, I do see what you're saying, because I thought about how to go about selling the house if I leave. I will be honest and say that at this exact moment I'm not looking for divorce. I'm willing to give him the opportunity to at least try to salvage the mess he created. Unfortunately, it might just take me stepping out to realize where he messed up. On the other hand, if it does turn into divorce, at least I'll already have me and my kids established in a new place. Commenter 2, based on how your husband has dealt with this situation I hope he is not calling your bluff, but be ready. Good luck. Commenter 3, I think your husband thinks you're bluffing and he'll try and con you again. He might say they'll move out and then guilt you for the next 2 months. And then sometime in May, he'll tell you that they need just a little more time. Be prepared for more bargaining and guilt tripping. Do not negotiate with them. I wish you luck. I hope your husband chooses well. NTAH. Commenter 4, NTA, I suggest 2 other things to help motivate your husband and show him how serious you are. Get an attorney to prepare a legal separation document. In this document, make sure you have sole decision making for your 2 children. Moving out is not just living in an apartment, it also means you have to be responsible in case your kids are sick etc. The second thing is to prepare a demand letter for the back rent. Both of these documents are intended to show your husband that his lack of action is the reason your marriage is failing. He needs to understand how serious this is and it is not an empty threat. You're already sleeping in separate rooms, I can't imagine how dumb he is and why he is not treating you your children as more important than his brother and GF. His priorities are all screwed up. Good luck. ETA, Do this now, don't wait until June 1st. The objective is to avoid moving out, so this will motivate your husband. But meanwhile, keep looking for a new apartment, just in case. Stories number 3. Aita for leaving all her stuff in the rain after she told me she'd be at home. I, am 25, broke up with my ex, F24, 3 weeks ago. The details of why aren't relevant, but it was messy. For the last 3 weeks I've been telling her to come and get her shit from my place because I don't want it here. She says she will and then doesn't. I've also asked if I can bring it to her multiple times when I know I'm going to be passing her palsy, and she always says she's busy. I was going to be passing her place yesterday, so I text her asking if she was in and could drop off her stuff. She actually said yeah. I've been waiting for all her stuff to be gone from my property too, so I can then block her and never talk to her again. I drive there, it's raining pretty badly, and she's not in. It's around 7 p.m, I text her asking where she was and she told me she was at a friend's, even though she said she wasn't going out and she'd be in. So I asked where her friend lives and asked if I could bring her stuff there instead. She said no. That was it, face with rolling eyes. I wasn't taking her stuff back to my place, I wanted rid of it. So I saw she had a wheelie bin out front. I opened it but it stank and was filthy inside, and I figured what was better than stinking and dirty. I put her stuff behind the wheelie bin in the rain, so nobody could see it from the street at least, and drove home. No sooner did I get home she decided to text me again saying, just take my stuff back to yours, I'll come and get it next week. Sure you will, you've been saying that for 3 weeks, so I text her back saying, I left it behind the wheelie bin at yours, and she was like, in the rain. She then proceeded to send me a bunch of messages calling me a prick and a dickhead and other shit. I text back a final message saying, your stuff is at your place. Don't try and contact me again, and blocked her number. Was that an move of me? I'm curious how others see this. If there's any other details you need to know before making a decision, ask. Stories number 4. Tofu by yelling, they had sex, in a Zoom meeting with my boss and coworkers. This is something that actually just happened an hour ago. I work completely remote and had a weekly Zoom meeting with my boss and 7 other coworkers, with varying levels of authority, and they were talking about something rather important. Now, before you judge me super hard, I actually have my Zoom settings set up to automatically mute when entering meetings. I usually keep it on mute at all times unless I need to talk. This meeting was a little different because I needed to give my input on the topic, so when I joined the meeting, I decided to unmute. Big mistake. My wife and I recently decided that we would get a dog via a dog breeder. We had already put down a deposit for a puppy. The parents of our future puppy had yet to mate, but today that changed when the dog breeder posted on their Facebook page announcing that the parents have successfully mated. Unfortunately, English is not my wife's first language, so when she read the post on her phone on the other side of the room, she immediately asked me what mated means. Without a second thought, I yelled to her, they had sex. The meeting goes quiet for a second and my boss laughs. My heart drops, and I quickly look at my computer screen to see if it was unmuted. The microphone did not have the red slash across it. I could feel the blood rush to my face, and in a flash I clicked the button to mute my microphone. After my boss finished laughing, they continued the meeting as if nothing happened. My wife and I share a laugh about it, but it is easily one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. Yes, I am aware that I'm lucky that this is one of my worst moments. I know it could be so much worse. Writing this out made me feel better though. TLDR, I yelled, they had sex, to my wife who did not know what the word mate means because English is not her first language while on a Zoom meeting, and my boss and coworkers heard me. Edit. I also want to mention that this is a throwaway account, so yeah. Stories number 5. Aita for making a comment about my friend not having a job after she expected us to buy her food. A while ago, I was in the car with some friends, and we were all driving to an art store. One of my friends, let's call her Anna, mentioned she was hungry. Her boyfriend was in the back seat with her, and they started talking about what to eat. For context, we are all adults, but Anna doesn't work and doesn't like spending her boyfriend's money. We suggested a pizza place, but she said, well, I don't mind eating off your plates. Without really thinking, I responded, of course you don't. The car got quiet after that. We ended up skipping food and just went to the art store, but Anna stayed in the car, pouting. Later, she got upset with me, saying I made her feel bad for not having a job. Her boyfriend also told me I shouldn't have said that. For context, Anna can work but has chosen not to. I didn't mean to make her feel bad, but I also felt like it was an awkward comment for her to make in the first place. Now I'm wondering if I was out of line. Edit. For context, she's not really a friend anymore, just my ex's sister and my daughter's aunt. When this happened, I was living with my ex and his family, 7 people total. At the time, only her boyfriend and I were working. My ex was doing college work and getting paid for it, while his parents, both ex-military and 100% disabled, lived off their benefits. Anna had tried to file for disability but was denied, yet still refused to work or help out around the house. I don't live with them anymore, but I do have anxiety and am on the spectrum, so I struggle with social cues sometimes. My brain just resurfaced this memory, and I started feeling bad about it again. I wanted to know if I was actually in the wrong or if I was overthinking it. Stories number 6. Aita for telling my sister it's not my fault she has children. For background, I, F28, have been working for a bank as a processor for the last 10 years, and while I know I'm lucky to have my job, my working pattern is good and I have the option to work from home. The job itself is boring and can be stressful, and it's not what I want to do with my life. I could never decide what I wanted to do when I was younger, and instead of going to college, I decided to work and gain experience for maybe a year or so until I could make my mind up before returning to higher education. But I got too used to making money and never did. Fast forward 10 years and I've come to the conclusion that what I would like to do is write books full time. I have been writing and self-publishing for a few years now. However, I would like to be able to dedicate more time to it, but up until now that's never been an option. My husband, M30, was promoted almost 2 years ago now and is literally doing his dream job. He makes far more than I do, but not quite enough to completely support us just yet. But recently he took me aside and said he knew I wasn't happy in my job, and it was hurting him to see. He suggested that instead of working a 40-hour week, I reduce my hours and maybe do 25 instead, as we can easily afford it. I was completely over the moon at the suggestion, and agreed. Work were also happy to accommodate due to my length service. My sister, F24, on the other hand, was not so happy about my decision. My sister and her husband, M27, both work full-time hours and have 2 young children. My sister has accused me of being lazy and saying that I shouldn't be taking less hours unless I have children, in order to do something that's just a hobby. She says that even she has to work full-time in order to raise her children, and that me not feeling like working isn't an excuse to sit around the house and do nothing all day, while my husband is out making money. I've told her that I've worked non-stop since I was 18 years old and now finally know what I want to do with my life, which got me the response that if I took more initiative to find out before now, I could have been doing what I love professionally for years instead of just starting out. This is where I think I might have been an asshole, but I basically told my sister that while I could sympathize with the fact she has a lot on her plate, it's not my fault that she has children and I don't. At this point she raged at me, saying I'm clearly too irresponsible to understand the sacrifice and dedication it takes to have 1 child, never mind 2, and that if I want to be a part-time worker and write silly love stories, then I can go do that. I've spoken to my parents, and while they don't think I'm in the wrong, they say I should be more understanding of why me and my husband being in a better financial position is a sore spot. Aita Reddit. I'm honestly overwhelmed by the response this has gotten and incredibly appreciative of everybody's support, so thank you all for your input. I'm feeling a lot better about things now and less angry overall as a result. A slight update, I received a call from my sister's husband about an hour ago. For context, the argument with my sister happened on Tuesday, not Wednesday. He said that he'd noticed my sister had been off for a few days but wouldn't tell him what was wrong, but finally caved today. He made it clear on the phone call that he doesn't agree one bit with what my sister said to me and that he's told her she needs to apologize for being cruel and judgmental over what was supposed to be good news in my life. He didn't elaborate but hinted that there was more to why my sister reacted the way she did, and that he'd come over tomorrow with my sister so we can talk. Hopefully we can sort things out because I love my sister and ultimately want her to be as happy as I am in my life. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you are an independent married woman. Why are you seeking approval from your birth family for your marital and life choices? Reply, I honestly didn't think it would be a big deal when I told them. It was more of a, here is what's going on in my life, and this is what I was met with unfortunately. Commenter 2, NTA, but is your sister in healthcare or retail? Something feels familiar about that sentiment. Unamused face. Reply, dental assistant, so somewhat healthcare. Commenter 3, info, it depends on your tone. Were you a matter of a fact or matching her energy? You should be shutting down your younger sister immediately when she attacks you for sharing things happening in your life. Rage is not a typical sibling response to jealousy, but you don't seem surprised by her reaction. You should be. I assume from your parents, what did you expect? Type response, and that you waited longer than needed to say anything. She is trained to receive no consequences or reaction to tantrums and rage. If that's the case, what took you so long? Reply, I would like to think I was being matter of fact, but honestly, I was probably more just over her being in lecture mode by the time I said what I did. It was on the same day I responded this way. She'd come over for a visit and chat, and for the most part we get on quite well generally. I wasn't surprised she wasn't totally supportive, but her reasoning for not being supportive baffled me. I had once said jokingly before that I'd love to be able to quit my job, and here's hoping one day my husband would be able to earn enough money for the both of us. At no point did I ever think this could ever be the case, but even then my sister said that wouldn't be a good idea, though her reasoning at the time was, what if we ever got divorced, how would I support myself? Commenter 4, I bet she's pregnant. Reply, my husband jokingly suggested this, but now I have the fear. Update, I didn't think I was going to write an update to this at all, but I got a few messages and requests for an update, so here we are. My sister and her husband came by today as promised. They actually came over much earlier than I was anticipating and left a couple of hours ago, so I don't know if I managed to say everything I probably should have at the time, but here's the gist for those of you who wanted to know. It didn't take a genius to see that my sister wasn't doing too well. She normally takes pride in her appearance and how she dresses, while I'm usually the one to prioritize sleep over putting on a full face of makeup. But when she turned up this morning she looked as if she hadn't slept in days, she had no makeup on and she was just wearing some loungewear. Not overly important details except that she didn't look like my sister at all. She immediately apologized as soon as she walked into the living room and hugged me before I could say anything. I hugged her back, because she's my little sister and no matter what, I love her to death. It also occurred to me that it felt as if she's lost a ton of weight, and while she's always been slim, this worried me a bit and any residual annoyance I might have felt dwindled quite quickly. A lot of you guessed that my sister is pregnant with baby number 3. I'm sorry to disappoint, but this turned out not to be the case. As it turns out, my nephew, M4, her eldest son, has been diagnosed with autism and has been having some major behavioral problems as of late. He's always been a rambunctious kid and prone to a tantrum, but I put this down to him being a child and didn't think too much of it. Apparently he's been having huge meltdowns at nursery school, leading to him being violent with other kids and members of staff, and it's led to my sister having to leave early from work on very short notice and has had to call in sick several times when he's in a bad way. Due to this, she's been called into a disciplinary meeting which might lead to a formal hearing, and it's really worrying her. She's also incredibly worried about what her son's life is going to look like and how much support he'll need moving forward. Her husband is there for her, of course, but he works a job where he needs to drive hours away at a time, so isn't always at home in the mornings when things are at their worst. His mother lives alone in another part of the country, and our parents aren't able to do a whole lot of babysitting as our mother still works and our dad has bad problems with his back. She acknowledges that her behavior was totally uncalled for, but that hearing about me being in a position to be able to cut my hours when she's worrying about even having a job in a couple of weeks really triggered her, and that she's been on medication for her mood for several weeks now as it is. I told her that of course I understood how her position could be stressful and upsetting, but if she had trusted me with this info and confided in me as a sister, of course I would have been there for her in any way I could have. Her husband cut in at this point and assured me that they were both incredibly grateful for every time I and my own husband had helped them out over the years, and he didn't want this to be something that caused our families to drift apart. My sister agreed, and again she acknowledged her mistake and admitted that she feels like recently things have been really difficult for her while my life seems to be falling into place. She said that even when I was at my lowest, I still did everything with an air of confidence that she has always lacked, and that even when I didn't know where my life was going I always held my head high and saw the positives. Something she is really struggling to do right now. She also told me that she told our parents about speaking to a doctor and being on medication for depression, but had asked them not to say anything to anyone, which is probably why they wanted me to go easy on her. Overall, I'm not mad anymore, and I know that deep down my sister is happy for me. She's just in an uncertain situation right now and it got the best of her. Edit. Thank you all for the incredible suggestions and sources of support that may be able to help my sister and my nephew. This is still all very new, not just to me but for them too, and no doubt we'll all be spending a very long time looking into the best options and seeing what is best going forward. I may not be the best when it comes to childcare, but if there's one thing my job has taught me this last decade, it's how to get as many details and as much info as possible, so no doubt I'll be putting that skill to good use very shortly. Top comments. Commenter 1, I'm sorry she's having a hard time. To be honest, I still feel like they are trying to talk you into babysitters her son. Helping your sister is important, but if they ask this, please think about what it means for your dream. Reply, trust me, I've been very clear about this with them, and honestly, as much as I love my nephews, I've never been a go-to for babysitting in general. They know my tolerance for kids is very low at the best of times, and considering my eldest nephew's additional needs, I think we all know that would be a massive disaster waiting to happen. Commenter 2, I'm glad she was able to apologize to you. Her being stressed doesn't make it okay for her to take that out on you. You can do whatever you want with your time, it's not up to her. Also, I'm just curious, is it always your sister that has to take care of the kid and miss work? Being default parent is super stressful, and it seems like her husband doesn't take time off to help when the kid's having issues. He's a parent too, it shouldn't be on her every single time. Reply, from what I understand it hasn't been out of choice, it's more that whenever there's been a call about my nephew needing to be picked up early from nursery because he's in the middle of meltdown and no one can get him out of it, she's the one close enough to be able to do it, as her husband can sometimes be literal hours away. Plus a lot of the time he has to be out early in the morning so he can be back at a decent time in the early evening, and it just so happens that mornings can be difficult if the little guy isn't feeling it. This is all still very new for them and they know changes need to be made and options looked into to make things easier. Commenter 3, your poor sister, she seems truly remorseful. No one is truly prepared for a child with special needs and having to work full-time on top of that is incredibly hard and let's be honest life is easier without kids. Losing your job has a different meaning when you have kids who completely depend on you. I would look into all the programs in your area that help with special needs and I know where I live special needs kids can start public school at age 3 where they can get the help they need. I really hope things work out for your sister in the long run. Stories number 7. Aita for telling my fiancé to relay to his family that our wedding is not up for changes discussion. I, 24F, am fed up with my fiancé's, 28M, family bullshit in terms of the wedding planning process. We are roughly 2 weeks away from the wedding day and everything is already very stressful and going to be a race against time. But anyways, I've been having issues with his family since the beginning of our engagement. There was a rift between me and his mother over details about picking my wedding dress. Then no one on his side of the family would fill out our address collector contact form so we had to change when we would send our wedding invitations twice. His mom and sister were 4 hours late to my bridal shower. Women from his family have asked about incorporating white into their outfits, and we're still waiting for people to RSVP from his side of things. And on top of all this last night, people from his family were asking about inviting extended family to the guest list. I just feel like it's bad etiquette to behave this way. I'm stressed out of my mind already with trying to hunt down people we invited back in February, get everything handled with vendors, and just 5 million other things. Maybe they just don't understand how weddings and wedding planning works, but I just want to be left alone to tie up the loose ends and be ready for the big day on time. I was frustrated with how things were going in regards to my fiancé's family and just told him essentially to shut down any questions or concerns or inquiries in regards to the wedding. I don't want to be asked about making any decisions or changes or anything this close to the wedding and he thinks I'm being a bit harsh. So, Aita for telling my fiancé, for just like future reference, if anyone asks about any changes in regards to the wedding we don't have to talk about it, just tell people no further changes are being made this close to the wedding date and it's not up for discussion. Relevant comments. OOP clarifies the details on her fiancé's mother and sister being late to the bridal shower. Reply, oh, the bridal shower wasn't 4 hours long, they just showed up 4 hours late. The shower started at 1, but we delayed start time due to everyone, including me, getting caught in some traffic so the shower was from 2 to 5 including a big lunch and they showed up at 5:30. Commenter 1, you've allowed this to go on too long, and that's on you, not your fiancé. When the time came for people to confirm send you their addresses, you should not have extended the cutoff. Those people should not have gotten an invite. Those who were 4 hours late to the bridal shower should have missed it altogether. Now they want to invite more people. Because they have shown that they can manipulate you, so now you are dealing with more BS. You need to shut it down now. Will this piss them off? Yes. If you don't shut it down, they will be late to your baby shower, they will interfere with the way you raise your kids, etc. Your answer to all of this is no. That's it. No explanation, no nada. And lay down the law to your fiancé, as well. NTA. Reply, I only extended the address deadline because if I hadn't my fiancé would have had 10 people on the guest list to my 65. I wanted him to be able to truly gather everyone he needed to. And they did miss the shower. They walked in halfway through gift opening and were walking out the door 15 to 20 minutes later. They can't manipulate me, every time they ask me things directly I shut it down. They are resorting to go through my fiancé because they can frame things differently and open him up to feel okay discussing things with me. Who is paying for the wedding? Reply, I'm paying for the whole wedding, my fiancé is paying for everything travel and honeymoon related. Relatives are doing nothing but showing up. Commenter 2, either your family agrees to back off and let me enjoy my own wedding or there will not be a wedding. You need to communicate that to them and then they need to respect my wishes. Because I am telling you, if someone in your family fucks up my wedding day, I will just leave and never look back. This is our day, not theirs. If they are not capable of respecting that and you are not adult enough to tell them to back the hell off, then I see no reason to go through with the wedding in the first place. I expect you to lay down the law with your family and to confirm that they will be on their best behavior. You have until the end of the week. Come Monday morning if I don't have any assurances that they understand they have overstepped and won't do anything to ruin our day, the wedding is off. This is your issue to fix, so fix it. Update. This update may be earlier than expected, but I also wasn't expecting to get a call from his grandma today either. So 2 days ago my fiancé asked me on behalf of his mother if 2 extended family could be added to the guest list, and as we are 2 weeks away from our wedding, I told him that just can't happen this close to the wedding, and he also didn't even originally invite them. I could also tell he was being pressured to bring it up, but anyways I told him no and told him to tell his family to give me space about wedding stuff because we're in the final stretch and changes are no longer negotiable. They never were negotiable, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, I get off work today and only 2 weekends, including this one, stand between me and the wedding, and I just want to settle into the bliss. But then I get a call from an unsaved number, but I thought it was my doctor's office, so I picked up. To a very disgruntled grandma, MIL's mother, grilling me about the guest list. Asking me what was going on, why some people were invited and not others, and what can I do to change it, and I explained that I took the guest list from my fiancé and anyone who wasn't immediate family I didn't recognize or ask questions because it's my fiancé's list of people he wanted to invite. Which she angrily said I should have asked her for who should be invited, not my fiancé. To which I then realized I never gave her my number, so how on earth did she get it? Anyways, after I somehow got off the phone with her, I told my fiancé everything. And he immediately called her and told her to back off and to spread the word that the wedding is ours and it's in 2 weeks and it's not up for discussion, and if they have issues to call him, not me. Partying face, woman dancing person, cartwheeling female sign. His grandma even sent her apologies. However, now I'm a tiny bit worried how the wedding will unfold, but for now maybe I'll have some peace and quiet until the big day. If not, I'll start cussing people out myself. Top comments. Did OOP's fiancé give her number to his grandma prior to the phone call? Reply, it was not him. I suspect it was either his sister or mom. He was at work when all of this happened, so he used one of his breaks to make sure I was okay after I sent him a million texts, and then he called his grandma. Commenter 1, Ta. It's your wedding. If his family wants input, they can plan their own event. Commenter 2, there's no doubt you're going to have people not on your list strolling up like it's a public event at this point. Commenter 3, higher security. Just in case anyone from his fam decides to try to wear white or bring an uninvited guest. And some people may get but hurt, let them. Get your security peeps to deal with them. So many weddings have been ruined by family drama, don't let this happen on your special day. Trust me, the peace of mind it will give you is priceless. Stories number 8. Aita for not feeling bad that I upset my dad's wife so much while she was pregnant that he let me move out at 14. For context on the title, it's been 2 years since this stuff happened, but it's been argued about in the last couple of weeks. I thought I had a happy family until I was 11. But then my mom and I found out my dad was cheating with this woman at the church he started to go to. Before that, everyone in our family was non-religious. My parents divorced and I disliked my dad and that woman for the affair. She knew he was married and everything. It's not that he lied about it. But they were so drawn to each other, and they could connect on a religious level, were used to excuse it. Dad even told me I'd never understand what it's like because he was a man and I was always going to be female. His wife tried to make me like her and I gave her a hard time because I wanted nothing to do with her. My mom got sick when I was 13 and she died within a few months. I had a lot of anger at my dad and at his wife for that. I even blamed my dad. I still kind of do. Not because she got sick, but because he betrayed her and she didn't even have the comfort of him before she died. Plus my dad tried to use mom being sick as an excuse to get custody of me. It didn't work until mom had died, but I still remember that. From the time mom died I had wanted to live with my grandpa. Grandpa was willing to and dad said no. He told me he was my dad and my sole living parent and I needed to be with him. When his wife got pregnant he said I didn't get to abandon my sibling, and that we'd only ever have each other when the adults were all gone. I told him I wasn't going to be there for that kid and I asked if he really thought I cared about or wanted that kid as my sibling. He told me I'd come around because he knew I loved little kids and babies. His wife was so happy and she tried to include me. I always rejected her. It upset her. My dad had me in therapy. But I wasn't having any of it. The more she tried, the more cruel and mean I got to her. She had some complications with the pregnancy and because of that she had her baby shower early. For a couple of weeks before the shower she kept trying to get me to take some interest, and one day she sat me down and got all emotional and said she hated that I was so resistant and that she understood I was hurting, but she was finally pregnant. She'd been married before and her ex left her because she couldn't get pregnant, and her pregnancy was difficult because of her age. She claimed this, not me. And to think about her health and the safety of her pregnancy, I told her I didn't care about any of that. That I didn't care if she had a safe and healthy pregnancy, I didn't care if she died and never got to enjoy being a mom. I told her I hated her, I wanted nothing to do with her baby, and I wasn't going to pretend this was happy for me. I said she was disgusting and fucking crazy and I hated seeing her face every day. That I would never want her to be happy. I asked her if she thought about what my mom went through dying so soon after what happened with Dad and her. I asked her if she even cared, and I called her evil and twisted for excusing what they did based on religion. She got really upset and distressed, and when my dad came home a couple of hours later she was still like that, and he took away all my stuff. When I refused to apologize or try to help his wife, he told me I won, and he called Grandpa and he picked me up that night at 11:30 p.m. Living with Grandpa has been everything I wanted it to be. And I have really nothing to do with my dad or his new little family. Grandpa got me better therapy, with a therapist who didn't fixate on me having a better relationship with those people. Dad comes to see me sometimes, which I could live without, but he thinks it'll help long term with us. His kid with his wife turned 2 not too long ago, and I didn't go to the party. Which led him to expecting an apology that I didn't give. Then he told Grandpa I owed his wife an apology for what I did to her too. He told me the same thing when he spoke to me next, and I told him I didn't feel sorry for what I did. That it got me what it wanted, and I still didn't care about his wife enough to regret it. Ever since, my dad has been giving my grandpa a hard time. Grandpa has legal custody of me now, so I'm not worried about Dad getting me back. I hate that Grandpa has to deal with Dad though. And he does have to because of custody stuff. I started to wonder with it all if I'm an AH for not feeling bad about what I did. I still feel no guilt or regret. To me it was worth it, and honestly was 100% me being truthful. But AITA for that. Stories number 9. Aita 4, terrorizing my brother, making him live in his own filth. My brothers are all pigs. We had a very traditional house where girls cleaned and washed dishes from the time we were old enough to walk and stand on chairs, and my brothers never did anything, and as adults cannot even turn a washer on. I very much resenting how I felt like I had to raise my own father, and how holidays and weekends were always spent with my brothers and dads laying around and us cleaning. Even Christmas they got to play with their toys and we went in the kitchen. I do not care about excuses like, I was never taught. We are all adults now and they can YouTube and Google whatever they do not know. I learned how to patch walls, change tiers, change oil, etc. All the gendered stuff I was never taught, so I do not see why he can't as well. My brother got put out by his girlfriend after they just had their first kid because he does not help with anything. Since staying with me I have forced him to do stuff. When he first moved in, my house went from my tidy, clean utopia to a disgusting mess. He would spit sunflower seeds on the flood, hide his food and dirty dishes around the house, spit chewed gum behind the coffee machine feet from the trash can, hide snack food everywhere, smoke on the toilet and put cigs out on my floor, which is a slap in the face as I asked him to not even smoke inside because I do not smoke, leave his dirty clothes everywhere even on the living room floor, etc. Even when he ordered food for himself, he would eat at the table then leave it for me to put away for him. Anytime he took anything out of the fridge he would leave it on the table and would often leave the fridge open. I am not joking, I found maggots 3 times from his mess. I lost it and told him to change his behavior totally or get out. Well, he started doing stuff, but as badly as he could. He would put bowls in the dishwasher so they would be filled with nasty water, mop with the same water for days on end leaving it smelling of rot, do his laundry by putting it in the washer and leaving it for me to finish, put food away by throwing it all over the fridge spilling food everywhere. The best was when he put the syrup away upside down on the top shelf with no lid on, coating my entire fridge in syrup that took hours to clean, etc. Then he would say, I am trying, you are just being a bntch. I lost my temper, and I know I couldn't leave him on the street, so I divided the house. The cabinet doors all have locks from the previous owners, so I got him from dishes from Goodwill and forbade him from using any of my dishes, so he is eating off his filthy dishes. I made it very clear that anything left on the floors, clothing, etc., gets a 1-day grace period, then it will be thrown away. Same with the few dishes he has, as he would leave them in the sink until they started to grow mold. I started locking my bathroom door and he has to use the one in the basement, which I refuse to clean. If his clothes are in the washer for more than 8 hours and I need to use it, I dump them wet on his bed. Any trash he leaves laying around goes on his bed. If he orders food and gets up and leaves his leftovers, I leave them to rot, then they get thrown away, though twice the idiot has left food out overnight and came out and started angry eating it whilst glaring at me. Both times the idiot got food sickness. He destroyed my fridge again, putting juice in upside down with the lid barely on, once again destroying my food, so I mopped it up with towels and dumped the towels and all my ruined food on his bed, then put a lock on the fridge. He hates me and says I am terrorizing him. I say I was forced to mother him as a child but was never given the parental control to actually teach him how life works. And since my brothers used my childhood to treat me like a maid, I will no longer parent them. My view is, some lessons have to be learned painfully. I will not gentle parent a grown man who cannot close a fridge door. Aisha. Sum of comments. Commenter, ages. Whose house is it? Why haven't you kicked him out already? Reply, I am 30, he is 33. This is my house. I guess family is family, just got beat into my head a lot. Commenter, suggestion, put a time limit on his time with you. Either he starts actually working towards a solution, and away from the weaponized incompetence that he's engaged in with the juice and syrup, or he gets moved out. Is he paying rent or for food? Utilities? I assumed that you'd be fine without any of his additions towards these, because you seemed okay before you invited him in to disturb your peace. Reply, he isn't paying anything because he lost his job during COVID and says he cannot find work. I was letting that go because I make really good money and didn't need any of it from him, but he needs to contribute something, and he is not. I think I will figure out a timeline and tell him he has to do better or go. I am sure he can find some other woman to raise him. That is his usual move when his girlfriend puts him out. Why she puts up with it IDK, but I can't say anything because I do too. Update, I could not believe my eyes when I opened Reddit and saw the number of notifications. Wow. So just to update everyone, things came to a head today. I had to work the early shift and had session with my table tonight at 6, I am DMing a few D&D games, I begged my brother to keep the living room clean. I came home and the house was more than trashed. I mean, it looked like a bomb went off. He even dropped a cup of milk on the floor and left it. I flung the whole milk jug at his head and screamed at him to GTFO. He tried to bulk up to me and I lost it screaming, "Get out," over and over, and I guess he saw how unhinged I was because he stormed out. I cleaned up the milk, then jumped online to message everyone to cancel and saw the 700 plus notifications. You all gave some really solid advice, and I knew reading the replies last night that this was over. I was gonna give him a few weeks, but seeing that milk all across my new floor was the last straw. IDK where he is going, I don't care. I thank you all. I love Reddit people. End of update. Some comments. Commenter, really, why are you doing this? I absolutely do not have any sympathy for you. You really can't be that dumb. Reply, joke's on you, I really can be LOL. No, I think growing up how I did, family was just pushed into my head, and all the old ladies used to say that men couldn't help it. In my church, if you yelled at a man for any of this you would be viewed as insane. Regardless, check my update, he is gone now. Commenter, it seems like he actively hates her, right? It's the syrup in the fridge that would have sent me over the edge. What a pain in the A to clean. Reply, it was horrific to clean because I was gone for 3 days and by the time I got back it was like molasses. I ended up having to shove all the fridge drawers in my bathtub and scrub them. I was bawling, I was so upset. Commenter, I would be willing to bet so much money that he listens to Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan and thinks women and men should have strict gender roles, which the men are always conveniently exempt from holding up their part of. Your brother is a piece of shit. Reply, he adores Ben Shapiro and Tate but thinks Rogan is a little $tch that needs to pick a side. He is super into Nick Fuentes too, or however you say his name. But his favorite is the one guy that got in trouble for screaming at his pregnant wife, I cannot remember his name. Commenter, she was conditioned as a young child to accept shitty behavior from men. Even putting in this boundary is likely a big step for her. Of course, I hope she takes from this thread that he's abhorrent and she doesn't need to accept this behavior. Though I get why she may not think she can just kick him out, even though she can and she should. Reply, this is 100% it. In my church, if you complained about men not cleaning, people would think you are insane. I posted this 10,000% thinking I was going to get roasted for being AB% TCH LOL. Commenter, I'm so sorry, honestly that sounds like a really toxic culture and I would try to find a more left-leaning church, but I understand that may not be possible in your area. Reply, I left the church and the area LOL, I am way libbied up now LOL. When he called me needing a place to go, I think I regressed a lot mentally. Commenter, your childhood church sounds like one of those culty outfits that has youth leaders sleeping with underage teens and pastors grooming young girls. Thoroughly gross. Reply, our church is #1 for those scandals recently. I was groomed by our youth leader. It was fairly standard for the elders to go on mission then marry a barely legal teenage girl when they were late 20s to 30s. It is rampant. Commenter, how do you even put syrup or juice in the fridge upside down and open? The syrup alone would have to have the two closed to try and balance it on the top upside down. The juice could be in several containers but again, probably needed a top to balance. Doesn't make any sense. Reply, at the top of my fridge I keep drinks, like juice, milk, etc. He left it upside down laying across the top of all the drink bottles. So it was not perfectly upside down but rather at a sever slant with the top at the bottom. He did the same with the juice. Parents. Reply, You are not going to believe this, but one time I did 10,000% get grounded because my brother got cysts on his ass from not cleaning and my mom said I needed to set a better example for him. That is 100% true and totally sounds like an insane lie. Editor's note, OOP was sort of asked to prove she wasn't a bot and it made me chuckle here. Update post. Hello everyone, I considered leaving the situation with my brother at the original post, but this post has blown up and is being covered outside of Reddit, so I figured I should tell you guys what has happened. To start, I know a lot of people seemed incredibly perplexed I even allowed this. To this all I can really reply is that I grew up in a very toxic environment. They are Mormons, and not the modern kind. When I was a kid, I was not allowed to wear pants. In my childhood, if you asked a man to clean, you would be looked at like you were insane, and if you got mad at a man being messy, it would even be implied you could possibly be corrupted spiritually for attacking the original design. Obviously, after I left the church, I understood that things are different, but I am not as healed as I thought. I obviously need a lot more therapy. I also got a few posts asking why I didn't include that I am autistic in my post. This is just because it is not relevant. The actual update, my brother is MIA. For anyone who missed it, the day after that post I came home to a trashed house and a glass of milk spilt on the floor that had obviously been there for a while. I lost it and lugged the milk jug at his head, thankfully missing, and screamed at him over and over to get out. He tried to square up to me, but I screamed so loud it was hard to talk the next day. I think he got the hint then and took off, almost ripped my door in two doing it. I had to replace a hinge. I know some people wanted me to sue him, but during this whole situation I was confronted with a health scare, just some weird looking moles, but I am still worried, so I do not want to deal with that. He left, get this, and went to the house of his 19-year-old girlfriend. Apparently, he met this girl when she went to the bar for her 18th. I had no idea this was going on, but all my brothers did. To recap. He had a baby with his GF of 8 years, this month. Editor's note, the girlfriend of 8 years is different than the 19-year-old. I told them all to fuck off. When mom messaged me crying because, no one knows where your brother is, he just left with some girl, I told her I do not care. I did, call me crazy, messaged the girl to tell her he is bad news, but she called me a crazy C%N and blocked me. I also messaged the girl's mom, who seems worried but basically said she cannot do anything because her daughter is legal. I guess they took off and skipped town and will not tell anyone where they are. Outside of worry for this girl, I do not care. I am too busy chilling with his EX and my wonderful niece. I am going to take care of my health and focus on my life. Sum of comments. Commenter, I hope your 2 posts are real, that you have actually taken those actions against your brother, and that you will never allow anybody else to walk all over you. Kudos to you and your new backbone. More info on OOP's former church. Commenter, hope it's clean. Sounds like lots of work to fix. Reply, my friends all came over and we had a cleaning party. The basement toilet was the worst, as that was the only area I was not monitoring. I mean, it was horrific. I sprayed bleached all over every inch of that room. Commenter, wait. Your brother's gone missing and you sprayed bleach all over your basement as part of a cleaning party. Well played. Loads of folk to take the fall with you. Just kidding, but seriously well done on turning your life around and standing up for yourself when you've been conditioned to never do so. Very impressive. Reply, I didn't realize how that sounded, lol. Commenter, did you change all of your locks and get a good security system? OOP, I put on a new padlock. He wouldn't hurt me, but I 100% could see him robbing me. Title, Final update, Aita for terrorizing my brother by making him live in his own filth. To catch up, my brother is a pig and destroyed my home. This led to me figuring out my whole family kind of sucks. He ended up leaving with his barely legal girlfriend, leaving his newborn and EX whom he was cheating on. You can check my post history for context. Well, after all of this I have not talked to anyone in my family at all, but kept in contact with his EX and have been spending a lot of time with the baby. I have never liked his EX, she was with him for a reason. I think the only reason they lasted for years instead of my brother's usually couple of weeks or months before the girl runs screaming is because she is, in a lot of ways, like him. Even knowing that I kept contact like a dummy because I felt so awful over the kid being left, and I secretly think they are doomed because of their goofy parents. I know how horrible it is to think that. I wanted to be a positive force in the kid's life. Well, my brother found out somehow that I have been around the kid and somehow got my new number, which totally perplexes me because no one in our family has it. He called me and cried that he does not want me around the kid because I will never do to his child what I did to him. This confused me because 1. When he left, he declared his ex must have cheated and the child was not his. They clearly are, so why is he saying, his child? And 2. I have never done anything to him. I was made to be his mom, which is crazy because he is older, but never even given the authority to correct him. so I spent my life chasing after him, cleaning up all his mistakes whilst he tormented me and treated me so horribly. I ended up literally medically diagnosed with PTSD. I asked him what I did to him, and he said I always judged him, and even when he was a kid, I looked at him with judgment. I hung up on him right there because LOL. I judged him. No duh. I could fill books and books with all the bad choices he has made and all the horrible things he has done to others. From the time he could talk, it seemed like all he cared about was hurting others and offending others. And he has never been actually punished for anything. I was the only one who judged him, and after his actions he rightfully should be in jail. If the worst thing he has suffered is judgment, I mean LOL. I have suffered way worse, often at his hands or because of his choices. The cold truth is, if it wasn't for my judgment and care, he would be gone of an OD about 1 billion times over. Or he would have called the wrong person a slur and found out the hard way. The only thing that kept him alive was me trailing after him, fixing mess after mess. He apparently talked to his ex, and she has blocked me and told me I will never be allowed to mess up their child like I messed up him. I do not need anyone to tell me she is appealing to my brother to try and win him back, and that this is two deeply broken, messed up people blaming their shortcomings on me because it is easier than looking in a mirror. I know. Anyways, I felt something snap in me, and it was like all my care, anxiety, and worry drained out of my body. I do not care about this anymore, or any of them. I changed my number again, limited my context list even more, and when I can I am moving. I will not be providing any more updates on him or my family because I do not care about these people anymore, and I do not plan to have contact again. Thank you for all the help. Sum of comments. Commenter: if the mother is unfit to care for the child, please contact the appropriate authorities before you wash your hands of these people. Wishing you a happy future now that it's free of the parasites you were related to. Reply: I really considered it, but both of them are sober now, and as far as I know, they're not technically involved in anything illegal. I had to call CPS once because a man in my area was openly beating his children that were filthy, would drag his daughter out of the house by her hair screaming slurs at her, and CPS did nothing. So they're not gonna do anything if I call them and tell them that these people are petty and horrible. Did X give brother OOP's number? She actually doesn't have my number. I figured she would give him my number. So whenever I changed my number, I told her I lost my phone and couldn't replace it immediately. I take an iPad with me everywhere for school. So she was just calling me on Facebook Messenger. So everyone keeps saying she was the one who gave him my number, but she didn't have it. Commenter: being older than you doesn't mean he will be more mature, or not need help, etc. I'm sorry if you were made to parent him, this has nothing to do with who is older. He probably was a tough kid. But again, you are coming off as very judgmental. No wonder he doesn't want that energy around his kid. That sad crying face. Editor's note: this was not downvoted at the time of this posting. I included it because OOP's response was enlightening. Reply: you are judging me when you do not realize the half of what he has done. I could sit here and talk for days and not tell you every bad thing he's done, how many lives he has ruined or seriously impacted. I judge my brother because he is an awful person. Not by my opinion, factually. What is crazy is people in my life have told me I judge him too harshly, then they reach out to help him because they feel bad for him, and every single one ends up coming back and telling me he's the worst human alive. Give you a little example: when he was 13, his teacher's husband died suddenly. It devastated her. A month later she failed him on a project he didn't do. He pretended to be her husband dying of a heart attack, crying out her name, and he fell on her classroom floor. He was moved out of her class but kept doing it in hallways. She ended up moving schools. When he was 15, dumped his friend's dog's ashes on the floor because he laughed at my haircut. When I was 17, my best friend died in a crash. My, then adult, brother asked me if I think the crash ripped his head all the way off, then he made a popping noise with his mouth and laughed. When he was much younger, I don't remember the age myself, he mocked a classmate with cancer and asked him how long it would take the worms to eat him. I got him into an after-school program trying to help him, and he got kicked out because he kept screaming the N-word at the black nuns. And those are just a few random examples. He is a monster. Stories number 10. Aita if I, 29F, tell my husband, 31M, I'm not willing to spend $10,000 on a down payment for a new truck because driving my car makes him feel less of a man. Edit to clarify title: we are looking at used trucks. Said new as the truck would be new to us. Doesn't change point of post much but wanted to be accurate. Backstory: my husband and I got married last July, but we've been together for a total of 7.5 years. We've always kept our finances separate, but I've been wanting to merge accounts for a while to remove that feeling of his and my money and approach our finances as a team rather than two individuals. If it matters, he makes about $15,000 to $20,000 more a year than I do, but I have the most money in my savings account. Long story short, his car has a lot of problems and he's been wanting a truck for a while. Logically, we really do need a truck to allow us to do more home renovations and be less reliant on family, but I'm not sure now is the right time. I've asked him if we can set a goal to purchase a truck this summer so we can focus on saving up for a good down payment to lower our monthly payments and so we can remain secure with a nest egg in our bank account. I currently have $13,000 in my account. This includes both my savings and my checking account. He has anywhere from $5K, $7K in his account typically. While I've kept my spending more frugal, he has, to be fair, spent more money on our home and daily needs as I work remote whereas he works in person, so it's easier for him to grab last-minute items throughout the week. I want to make sure I am not making him look like he's being selfish. That's not the case, but I do think he is being immature. He asked me if we can go look at a $39,000 truck this weekend and is asking me to put $10,000 down. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not hoarding my money from him, but I grew up homeless, without basic needs, and I do not ever want to put myself into a position where I am struggling again. We are 100% not poor, but I would feel very insecure dropping my account down by that much when I've been saving this money for years. To add to the conflict, when I remind him we don't need the truck this minute and that we can use my car until say August-September, he says driving my car makes him feel like he's not a man. I tried to tell him that there's nothing manlier than a man who puts his family's financial interests before his wants, but he just clams up. He essentially told me that I obviously don't think of my bank account as ours and what I say is apparently the final say. I've tried to have a mature conversation to weigh the pros and cons, but he is legitimately pouting. I'm talking no eye contact, monosyllable responses, and not engaging in the discussion. I don't want to have him feeling like his wants aren't valid, but how do I get him to see from my perspective? Or if necessary, how do I see from his when he won't give me anything more than, it's the only truck that meets our requirements within 500 SQ miles, you have more money than I do, and your car is a chick's car. TLDR, my husband wants me to drop my bank account down to $3,000 so he can have a manly vehicle. Editing to address some questions, feedback, and overall absurdity. I'm sure most of you out there understand that there's only so much context or nuance that can be included within a singular Reddit thread. With that in mind, let's try not to judge my husband too harshly. First things first, I want to address the elephant in the room which might disappoint some of you. I drive a black 2018 Nissan Sentra, we call her Bernice. Excellent gas mileage, comfortable, spacious enough for a starter family, and still shiny too. He has no problem whatsoever in the way he's perceived driving the car, it's the fact that it has no torque to it. His current car is a 2016 Subaru WRX and he spent the last 8+ years driving it. I can't lie, I also really enjoy the turbo and the handling, so I understand the disappointment going from that to Bernice. She's a true point A to point B vehicle, no bells or whistles, and always loses in a race. So while I still don't think this is a good enough reason to jump the gun on this truck, it's really not about being in a truck. Piggybacking off of this carrot, I quoted him verbatim on the title. He truly said, driving your car makes me feel less of a man, but it isn't any deeper than the fact that my car is slow and a bad choice of words on his part. But to play the devil's advocate, I do call my car a she and named her Bernice. So I guess I started the whole gender assignment debacle. He's not a misogynist, and while he wasn't choosing his words correctly, I don't think his feelings are invalid to an extent. He was in motocross throughout middle and high school, and as soon as he had enough money, he bought a sports bike. Add in that he's so used to a quick day-to-day vehicle, I see why he might feel stifled by a boring car like mine. Is that a mature excuse? No, but it's not hard to understand his inner feelings on this. Next, I want to be fair to both myself and to him on our spending and why our bank accounts are where they are right now. He took out a loan for his motorcycle in 2016 for what I think was a $15,000 to $16,000 loan, and then took out another loan in 2017 to buy his car. I don't know the numbers exactly, but he put a reasonable down payment on the car and ended up with a $26,000 loan. Objectively, both were bad financial decisions, but he was barely 22-23, so I'll give him some grace on that. He paid off his bike in 2023 and his car late last year. He sold his bike last summer as well. Now that I think about it, losing his bike and having his Subaru start dying might explain the urgency he's feeling. With both of those loans rolling over the last several years and taking on home ownership, he wasn't saving much. Because we weren't engaged at the time of us buying the house and I wouldn't benefit from the equity put into the home, we decided I would furnish the house, pay an equal share towards home renovations, pay for the majority of groceries, cover electricity and internet, but he would cover the mortgage, heating, and taxes. It was a fair exchange as we did look into the numbers to make sure we were both putting in a fair share based on our individual income. Now why, 8+ months without those big monthly payments and the extra money after selling his bike, is he still not saving enough? That is the big question. I took the advice many of you gave me and sat down with Excel after reading through some of your responses and began a budget for us. I am seeing areas I need to improve in, but we'll have to see what's going on with his numbers tomorrow. One more thing, though they were buried, some of you did suggest putting a ball sack on the back end of Bernice. It was a valid suggestion, but she's secure in her identity, smiley face. Stories number 11. Tofu by air frying a rat. Didn't happen today. I've been reeling from the trauma for a while, but I remember it like it was yesterday. My husband and I were both sick, like, sick, not eating a proper meal for days sick. Eventually, we both hit that point of recovery where we were actually hungry again, so I decided to do some easy cooking in the air fryer. I put in a ready-made chicken curry on the bottom shelf for lunch and left it for 20 minutes as directed. When I returned, there was an awful smell in kitchen. I'm trying to work out how to describe that smell, something like burnt rubber or plastic, perhaps. Like there was something very off. But when I checked my curry on the bottom shelf, it seemed fine, so I ate that curry. That's something I can never undo. At dinner time, we decided to do a full easy roast, with sausages, Yorkshire puddings, potatoes, all that. Anyway, I had everything in the oven when I realized I had forgotten the stuffing balls I'd bought a few days before. They wouldn't be done in time if I used the oven, but the air fryer would expedite the process. All would be well, except that smell appeared again, worse than before. So we decided to turn off the air fryer and investigate it, see if there were any issues with it. That's when my husband saw something on the top shelf. I thought perhaps it was a piece of plastic packaging, which was emitting those awful burning fumes. But when I pulled out the tray, there was no plastic there. What my husband had seen was the tail of an incredibly well-done rat. It was a harrowing experience, not gonna lie. If you want to picture it, wouldn't recommend, just imagine a sort of carbonese chunk of potato, stuck to the bottom of the oven, except it's a whole rat. So yeah, moral of the story is always look inside an air fryer before using it. And, whatever you do, don't leave the door open for days at a time. TLDR, turned on air fryer, smelled something nasty, discovered charred remains of enormous ex-rodent. Stories number 12. Heard after hearing how my 32F husband, 35M, refers to me as to his coworker. I, 32F, was getting ready for the day in the bathroom and could hear that my husband, 35M, was on a call in his office across the hall. For some reason my brain tuned into the conversation and I overheard him talking about our son, 1M, to his female coworker. Innocuous small talk. Until I heard my husband refer to me as my son's, mom, instead of wife. I immediately felt like I was get punched but not sure why. I asked my husband about it and he said, it doesn't mean anything, and not to make a big deal about it. Seems innocent enough, however it has bothered me all day. If you were in my situation, how would you handle this? Update, I asked him again why'd he say that and to provide the context. The coworker asked who our baby is looking like, and he responded, his mom. I do feel in this context it is okay, but wish he told me sooner so I didn't spiral all day. So now I'm the crazy, paranoid wife my son's mom and have to eat crow. I appreciate everyone's advice on this matter. Stories number 13. AIO by firing an employee after she started bragging to other employees. So this happened last month. One of our employees, let's call her Melissa, apparently won some decent money from a scratch-off lottery ticket. Not millions, but enough to pay off her car and take a vacation. At first, everyone was happy for her, but then things got weird. She started coming to work with designer bags, constantly bringing up her financial advisor, and worst of all, making comments about other employees' lunches being cheap or asking why they don't just upgrade their phones, cars, apartments. The final straw came when she told our receptionist, who's a single mom, that maybe if you made better life choices, you wouldn't be struggling. Several employees came to me in tears about her behavior. I had a private meeting with her about professionalism, but she just said everyone was jealous and that she finally doesn't have to pretend to be friends with poor people. After documenting several incidents and another warning, I had to let her go. Now her friends are leaving 1-star reviews saying we fired her for being successful and discriminated against her new financial status. I didn't fire her for having money, I fired her for creating a toxic workplace. But the reviews are hurting business, and I'm starting to doubt myself. We are a small business in Chicago. Stories number 14. Aita for planning on leaving him without a warning because I no longer have the energy to talk. I'm F26, leaving him, Mike M31, tomorrow. I'm tired of taking crap from his family while he won't lift a finger to at least stand up for me. His sister has a strong personality that she has used in every way possible to destroy her own marriages. I'll call her Darla, F37. She's articulate, learned a trade and is very outspoken. She could be out there making a living but she chose to be a som, no job, fighting her ex for child support and using her sharp tongue to insult people. She complains about being short of cash but turns away working opportunities. You can't say anything without being worried that she will think it's about her and she doesn't respect other people's opinions. For example, she had a major crisis 2 years ago when her ex left her. She was triggered and alternated from tears to rage. Their mom asked me for advice in terms of what to do because they were contemplating sending her to a mental clinic but she refused. I said maybe she could use a distraction to help ease her pain. I said maybe getting a part-time job could bring her back to herself and if she liked it, it would help her keep her mind off what was happening. Days later, Darla decided that I was the enemy, that I had insulted her and that I implied that she was crazy and the root of her mental breakdown was her being jobless, Mike's words. She also decided that I shouldn't talk to their youngest brother, Tim M30, and I both became her foe and lost Tim, we were friends, in the same week. Mike supported her and told me that Tim and I shouldn't talk so much, because it was weird. Tim and I were very good friends and his wife was almost always included in our interactions. The whole thing left me feeling embarrassed and like I'd done something dirty. I'm sick of having to deal with Mike's attitude every time he visits his family. Our last big argument took place after he came back calling me controlling and, because I asked him to stop drinking because he gets belligerent and has said very hurtful things, and a liar, when my arrhythmia got triggered after a huge argument and I asked him to leave me alone because I wasn't feeling well due to anxiety. We've been living together, I don't have a lot of things to take with me but I paid half of everything and paid for groceries in full and for the electricity bill. No matter how much I contributed, I wasn't treated like an equal and his mother told me that no matter who or what happens, her son is clear about his main priorities. After this, I got the ick and decided to leave him. I've been sleeping in the guest room for 3 months. He has tried to initiate sex. I treat him politely but I already lost my impulse to save our relationship. I'm sad but looking forward to ending this. I found a new place and will move out after he goes out for his morning workout. I already removed my documents and other important stuff and whatever I keep at his place fits into my car. I'm planning on letting him know after I'm gone but I never thought it would come to this and I'm a bit concerned. Not that I'm trying to justify or protect him but I know it will be a blow to his ego and I don't want to trigger his emotional imbalances. I'm mentioning this because I've seen how he gets when his friends brush him off. Also, his best friend cut him off and he got depressed and a friend he was going to try and start a business with ended things and Mike was a little scared because he stopped eating and spent all of his free time in bed. I don't see anything that could be said to fix our relationship. I don't have a lease agreement, I just transferred him the money every month. My best friend says he deserves getting dumped, but sneaking out like that is horrible. Aita, stories number 15. Me, 28F, and my best friend, 32M, are considering having a baby together. I know this sounds crazy but please read the whole post. I am a widow. I lost my husband a little over 3 years ago. That's a really long story for another post, but we had been trying to have a baby together before he passed. My best friend, who I'll call Chris, was my husband's best friend. We were good friends when my husband was still here but we bonded a lot after his passing. Chris is also a widow, although his wife died before I knew him. Having been through what I was going through and also losing his best friend, we really leaned on each other the last few years for love and support. We are best friends now, I don't know what I would do without him. I feel like a huge part of my life is empty. I feel a visceral need to have a baby. I know I sound crazy. When I lost my husband, it also felt like I lost the life we didn't get to have together, like I lost the baby we were trying for and the family we could have been. I want nothing more in life than to be a mother, it's what I've always wanted for myself, something I've always looked forward to. I know there is a big child-free lifestyle community here on Reddit so this may be difficult to relate to for some, but it's what I want for myself. I'm educated, I'm very successful in my career, I'm financially stable and I'm ready for the next chapter in my life. I know I could just go to a sperm bank or adopt and raise a baby by myself but I would really prefer my child have a father. I grew up with the most amazing dad and I don't want to purposely bring a child into the world without a father that will love him like my dad loved me. I know I could wait around until I meet the right guy, but that isn't something that I'm certain is in the cards for me. Last week, Chris and I got together, had a few drinks, and I opened up to him about how badly I wanted to be a parent, and he shared the same feelings with me. It was so nice to talk about it with someone who I can really relate to, and he feels the exact same way I do, like he is missing a huge part of his life. He said we should have a baby together. He said it half-jokingly at first but it grew from there, and now we're seriously considering it. I know Chris would be an amazing dad. I am trying to look at it objectively, but obviously it's a very emotionally charged topic. As I see it, the worst case scenario is that we share custody of the child, but the child has two parents that love him or her. It's no different than a divorced couple with a kid. We're both well off, we can afford a great lawyer to write up a rock-solid parenting agreement for us. The best case scenario is we raise the child together, as a team. We already practically live together, have the same parenting views and the same morals in general. I could go on forever about why we think it's a good idea. What is your opinion? Am I completely crazy for considering this? TLDR, my best friend and I are both widows. We were both trying for a baby before our spouses passed, and now we desperately want a family of our own and are considering starting one together. I'm looking for an outsider's opinion. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. OP. To me it's clear you are asking for permission to love Chris romantically. The baby is a pretext. You have it. There is nothing your husband would have wanted more than for you to be happy, and what better way than by loving someone who was also so important to him. Put your guilt aside and start a true relationship with Chris. Not only will you not regret it, it will ensure you honor your husband's memory, together, forever. Commenter 2. OP. Look at how many people have upvoted this post and agree with this statement. You and Chris want the same things. You like each other enough to have supported and loved each other through very difficult things. You've done things that married couples sometimes don't make it through. That speaks huge of your relationship. Get together. Make beautiful babies and create a wonderful life together. Commenter 3. Why not date and try making a baby together? Are your feelings non-romantic? I mean, you want to raise a baby with him, that says something right there. Why did you feel guilty? Reply. It's not that I haven't considered it, but it would just feel wrong. We actually kissed once, but I felt so guilty about it. It just doesn't seem right. I felt like I was betraying my husband. Update. After reading everyone's comments I was feeling really conflicted, so I told Chris I didn't think we could move forward with having a baby together until I knew whether or not we'd ever be together as a couple. He told me he was just waiting for me to be ready, and then we had sex, so I'm ready. I know I said that I felt really guilty when we kissed, but I didn't mention that that was 2 years ago. I expected to still feel guilty, but I don't. I'm just really happy. We've both been off work the last couple days, so we have been spending 100% of our time together. It's so nice being with him. It's been a long time coming. As for having a baby together, we both still really want to do that, but now we have to figure out how that fits into us having a romantic relationship. The responsible thing would probably be to wait, I don't know, a few years, but it's been really hard to actively prevent against something that we want to happen, so we're not really being as careful as we should be. Any advice? I'm feeling like I can't think straight about it. I can already tell it's going to be hard to take it slow. We live together, we both own our own homes, but he is renting his out right now. I work from home and he only works a couple days a week, so we spend a ton of time together. We were already living like a couple that just didn't have sex, and now we are, so I'm not sure how to take it slow or if we should even bother. Also, I don't know how to tell my parents what's going on, or if I should tell them at all. They don't like that I'm friends with Chris, or any of my husband's other friends, and would be even more upset to know that we're together now. They want me to distance myself as much as possible from my old life, as they call it, and express their disappointment about my failure to do so every time I speak to them. When my husband died, my mom went behind my back and told my in-laws that I requested they keep their distance from me because it makes me depressed to talk to them. Not true, by the way. I felt more depressed not talking to them, and although I found out the truth much later, we barely talk now because we weren't there for each other when we needed to be. TLDR, Chris and I are now together, not sure how having a baby fits into our relationship anymore. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. First off, congrats. Secondly, as far as your mom goes, you might need to do some serious reflection. Is she the kind of person you want in your or your child's life at all? We obviously don't know the full story, but she is not supportive and has done some bad things in the past. Thirdly, I know you said it's hard to take it slow, but I still think you should. Maybe you don't wait a few years, but I don't know about rushing into this. There really isn't any rush at all. You're, hopefully, going to be together for a long time. You aren't that old, so you're not pushing the age aspect of pregnancy yet. I just think it would be a good idea to get some birth control and revisit the issues in a few months after things have settled down. Reply. I can't imagine not having her in my life, but she has been really, really shitty to me in the past. Our family is pretty close though, so if I stopped talking to her it would be hard on everyone. Commenter 2. Are you sure this isn't a knee-jerk reaction to the onslaught of people in the last post telling you not to have a baby? Because in the last post you kept saying he was just a friend, you weren't interested in him romantically, and now suddenly bam, we are a couple. If this is a real romance, great, congratulations. But I really can't stress enough that you should get into counseling to talk through this, because you seem to be allowing yourself to be guided by strong emotions and speak a lot of not being able to go slow, about being confused, about feeling like you can't think straight. That's not the mindset of someone who should be making huge life decisions. Please get into counseling. Reply: Hi, you accidentally posted this 4 times. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. People were asking me why we weren't together, and I didn't really have an answer for them. I knew that I didn't want to have a kid with him if I wasn't completely certain I didn't have feelings for him, because that would be a recipe for disaster, and when I told him that, and he told me that he's just been waiting for me to be ready for the last 2 years. My initial thought was, why did I wait so long to tell him this, because we could have been together a long time ago. I am seeing a therapist. Stories number 16. Can women stop shaming other women for having bushes? It's honestly getting out of hand. No one cares if you want to shave, but why do they feel the need to tell everyone? Like, I just saw a post of a girl being like, having a bush gives you infinite wisdom, like clearly a joke, and all the comments are, I hate having a bush, it feels so gross. I feel so unhygienic. Literally no one asked. And the fact that they need to mention that it's unhygienic to them and gross is just so ugh. Like when I hear that a girl shaves, my immediate reaction isn't to tell them I don't. That's just weird. I feel like it's just a cry for validation, because who are y'all telling this to? The internet void? And why do you have to mention that it's because it's unhygienic to you? Like you're just telling on yourself that you have been brainwashed. If it was genuinely just because you don't like it, you wouldn't feel the need to tell other women that, unsolicited. Recently I've seen more women shaming each other than any man mentioning it, and it's just pissing me off. We already have societal standards towards our genitals that have been pushed back against since the 70s, so whyyyy add to the noise of sexist complaints. And this is not about girls who just shave like so do I, it's just about the ones who feel the need to mention the hygiene of it. And it's always, in their opinion, like girl, your opinion is hurting someone else's self-confidence. And no one asked for it. Trive to 1. They dismantled the door and cleaned the vomit from the crevice. I got a bill of £230. I got back to the hotel at around 9:30 p.m. I had missed dinner. So I had to order room service for myself at 10 o'clock at night and quietly eat it to not wake up the others. I also F'd up by not having the vomit bags readily available. TLDR, my daughter asked for her iPad on a car journey, vomited down my back in the crevice where the window goes, the mechanic dismantles the door, mechanic and car wash charge me £360 in total. All my fault due to not having vomit bags readily available. Stories number 17. Aita for not letting my coworker interrupt me anymore. I've been at my job for 3 years now, and in personal and professional conversation, my worker continually interrupts me. Not just me, it's everyone. Usually, someone will start to speak and after about 2 seconds, he will interrupt. Not always about the same subject, sometimes he will just spark into a completely different topic. There's professional conversations that have to happen and we literally sit next to each other. Always thought that's just how his brain works, or he's got a different communication style. Recently, I started just literally talking louder and not stopping when he interrupts. It usually leads to both of us talking for 1 to 2 seconds, sometimes he will stop, slow down, and sometimes he just keeps going, almost ignoring what I'm saying. I feel crazy and I feel like everyone else at work notices. I asked him to just stop interrupting me, but when I brought this up to a friend, they said that's an asshole move. Didn't work, by the way. Am I an asshole? Stories number 18. Aita for admitting I'm glad my half-brother is never around anymore during a therapy session with my parents. I'm 17M, in therapy with my parents. Their choice. I didn't ask for it. I have a half-brother, 21M, from my dad's first marriage. My dad and his ex divorced when my half-brother was a baby. I think his mom cheated, but I don't know for sure. I know she was married before my parents were, and I know I heard people say my half-brother wasn't even one when he met his stepdad. My dad's ex-wife really hated my mom and then me. She'd say shitty things to us and encouraged my half-brother to do the same, and he did. He spent a week with us and then a week with his mom and stepdad. When he was here he'd make everyone miserable and he'd cause so many problems. He was rude and disrespectful to my mom and me. He told us he hated us. He called my mom a cunt and a whore a lot. He called her disgusting almost as much, and he'd say she liked sloppy seconds. I don't remember how old we were when he started talking like that, but he was still really young. My parents were in court with dad's ex a lot, and in our house everyone did lots of therapy. There were so many punishments and consequences and talks that happened that I would see but not be a part of. He never got physically violent with me, but he made it his mission to make sure I knew he didn't want me or accept me as a brother, and that my mom was all the stuff he'd call her. I remember he told me when I was 10ish that he hoped my mom would get raped. I didn't know what that word meant at the time. But he enjoyed telling me. He'd call me a retard a lot and used basically every gay slur against me. Even when I was still really young he did that. He was 17 before he started coming less, and by the time he turned 18 he was hardly ever around. It took a few months after he turned 18 for him to stop showing up at all, and it took a little longer for him to stop showing up to our grandparents' house for Christmas and stuff. I'm so glad I don't see him anymore and he's not around at all. My parents miss him. My dad I get, but my mom, I'll never understand. I don't need to. Things are kinda stained between us, so the therapy was sought. They thought I'd feel sad about not seeing him like they do. So when it came up in therapy and I admitted I'm glad he's not around and I'm not sad and I don't miss him, my parents were like, whoa, WTF. My dad looked upset, but my mom even looked devastated, and she told me she never wanted me to feel that way. The therapist went over my half-brother's behavior with them, but they still couldn't understand it. Then my dad told his brother, and my uncle lectured me on saying that to my parents. He said sometimes those things you keep to yourself even if therapy is involved. Aita. Stories number 19. My husband, card hobby, is ridiculous. My husband, hobby, is killing our marriage. I need advice. My husband and I have been married for 5 years with a 3-year-old daughter, and my husband, card hobby, is killing our marriage. For background, last year he started getting into wanting a hobby business is buying and selling NFL NBA cards, which he started after having gambling issues with roulette virtually. He ended up hiding how much he was spending, putting at least $8,000 on the credit cards in 2 to 3 months without him selling any cards. I am the breadwinner in the family as well. I make approximately $7,200 a month post-taxes, and he makes about $4,000 post-taxes monthly. Before having the hobby he also bought a $90K car with a $1,745 car payment because it made him happy, although I said it was not a good idea. Due to the spending issue and other factors like him having anger issues, I filed for divorce last year. He said he would quit the hobby and sell all his things, do therapy, and change. I cancelled the divorce and stayed to work on the marriage with a marriage counselor. We did sessions, but over time he hasn't felt like they've been necessary. We have now $72K in debt consolidation because of cards, his past gambling, as well as a multiple of different things. 1 year later he is now into his hobby again and has already put about $800 on the credit cards. He is trying to use TikTok or whatnot to do a game platform and make money. His philosophy is you have to spend money to make money. Like example, he wanted to buy $1,000 worth of packs of unopened cards to try and sell them. When I explained that I am not a fan of this hobby, he says I can't ever let him have a hobby, and I'm glad it not golf because he would never be home. I honestly feel like this is not going to end well. We have also tried splitting finances, but that wasn't the best as he was not always able to pay me back for half the mortgage or our daughter's school. I really just don't think this marriage is going to last unless I support this hobby and let him spend on whatever he thinks is necessary. Update. I went through his eBay account and found he put 2 bids for a $1,500 card and $1,900 and made an offer to a third card for $1,900. Also forgot to put our ages. I am 32 and he is 42. Updates 2. Got in an argument and said I was not happy and wanted a divorce. His reply was, I told you I wouldn't let the hobby ruin the family and I'll get rid of everything, etc. My reply was, that's beside the point. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So on your update 2, he claims to want to fix the issue, but once he says that it isn't enough, that's not the point. What's the point then? To just continue to punish him because you make more? Or you simply aren't happy no matter what? If that's the case, that's fine, just be honest about it. Reply, because I feel like he is just saying that because I brought it up. To me he said it the first time I said divorce and yet he did it again. As well, the point is he knew I didn't like it and yet he still did it anyway. You're probably right where I've been burned by him too many times and the trust of him saying he is going to do something won't happen. I brought up therapy again and he said he didn't need it. I can't force him and neither do I want to. It is what it is. Commenter 2, full disclosure, I typed that prior to looking at your post history. It seems like there is a lot there. I can see where it is frustrating working hard to have Buddy continually act the way you say he does. It also kind of sounds like you are in the way out of the relationship anyway. Reply, no worries. It happens. But agree, I'm on my way out, and again I told him I was unhappy and wanted to separate and he is still in denial and said he wanted to stay together. I just feel guilty leaving as well. Unhappy with my life and I'm too weak apparently do anything. Update 1. I am posting an update to my prior post of my husband, hobby, is killing our marriage. Update. I had asked for a divorce 2 days ago but he told me he wanted to still be together. Today, it was brought up again and he said he would get the divorce and he has accepted it. I have a great sense of relief yet a significant amount of grief. Grief for the past, present and future, as well as not know what the future will hold and if I made the right choice for my daughter. The relief is knowing I won't have to worry about any hobbies or being yelled at and called names for reasons that are dumb. We have not obtained a lawyer, but I assume we would do that in the upcoming weeks. I hope this was the best decision for both of us and we can have a happy future apart for our daughter. If there is any advice for life during the divorce process and after with children involved, we have one daughter who is turning 3, then I would love that as well. Cheers to new beginnings. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, holy shit, did he call Dave Ramsey? I swear I heard this story on the radio. Reply, it was not him, but it is the exact same story except the guy on Dave Ramsey did Pokemon cards. I listened to it and thought I was listening to my life story. Crazy coincidence. Update 2. Editor's note, removed 2-3 of the update number 2 as it is a rehash of the original post. This will be the last update I am posting. First below is the original post for first-timers. Update 2, met with my own lawyer today and found a house for my daughter and I, going to start moving out this weekend as well as file the papers. There has been great relief knowing I am no longer going to be in this marriage. I am so happy I finally stood up for my daughter and myself and happy to start my new life. We will be still amicable as it is in our daughter's best interest and I want him to be a part of her life. I do believe that is the best for her. Top comments. Commenter 1, this isn't a hobby, it's a gambling addiction. You're doing the right thing for yourself and your daughter. Commenter 2, OP, please make certain that your counsel is a seasoned family law attorney who is well versed in divorce law. Hopefully counsel will be able to demonstrate a dissipation of assets, thereby allowing you to secure a greater share of the marital assets and an allocation of debt that is favorable to you. Do not share any debt he incurred incidental to his addiction. Commenter 3, that's a great update. I'm sorry it's come to this, but you're doing the right thing for yourself and your child. As others have said, he has a gambling addiction, not a hobby. Don't let him pile more debt onto you. Update 3, we are in the waiting period for the divorce and I did file. I have moved out and we are living separately but still are friends. I am working with a therapist myself to try to work on me and my decision and the emotions that come with it. My biggest thing is it has been 2 months still thinking we can work on things as with time we both have been having greater perspectives and where things have gone wrong in the marriage. We are going to do couple counseling to work on ourselves together to better co-parents. We both are still thinking it may be salvageable after a year of separation and intense single and couple counseling. The past 2 months reflecting with my therapist has made me realize that I have played a part in allowing the gambling to happen and buying cards as when he would hit big I would be happy and asking for him to keep going. As well as I would always want to go on expensive trips and put us further into debt. I really believe we both played a part in the marriage and separation and it will take both of us with hard work to maybe if ever in the future to make it work. But for now going to stick it out and finish the filling for divorce. Especially because he mentioned he wants to make an e-commerce business and brought me flashbacks to being financially free and self-free. Thanks everyone for all the support and advice and future advice. Top comments. Commenter, he has a major gambling problem that is hiding as a hobby. Because that's what the whole card collecting thing is, gambling that the cards you own are worth more than what you paid for them. It's not collecting, it's just gambling pure and simple. And if you want to know the economics behind this hobby, then look no further than the whitey vids of the storage locker folks who end up finding thousands of these every day in abandoned storage lockers. They end up lotteing them up by the box and selling them for next to nothing on Whatnot. On paper these things may be worth money, but realistically they are worth nothing if no one is buying them. And no one is buying them unless you are talking the primo top of the range very rare collectibles. And even then, so for you, unless he is taking active steps to address his gambling issues, and yes, this includes hiding his gambling behind his hobby, then you will be right back where you started. Commenter 2, he's ruining you and your child's lives by this stupidity. He's destroying your credit. Why are you letting him do this? Get as far away from this wretched person as possible. Stories number 20. Waiter for refusing to give up my grandmother's engagement ring for my brother's proposal. So, this has turned into a huge family fight, and I need to know if I'm in the wrong here. My grandmother left me her engagement ring in her will. It's a beautiful vintage piece, very sentimental to me, because I was extremely close with her growing up. I've kept it safely stored for years. Here's where things get messy. My older brother, 30M, is planning to propose to his girlfriend, 28F, and recently asked if he could have our grandmother's ring. He said it would mean a lot to him to keep it in the family, and that his girlfriend loves vintage rings. I told him no. This ring was left to me, and I intend to either keep it or use it for myself someday. He got really upset, saying I was being selfish and that it's just sitting in a box, while he has an actual use for it. My parents sided with him, saying that as the eldest, it should have gone to him anyway, and that I'm being difficult for no reason. Things escalated when my brother said I was hoarding the ring out of spite and that I should want it to stay in the family. I told him I do, it's staying with me. Now, he's barely speaking to me, and my parents keep texting me about how hurt he is. Aita for refusing to give up the ring. Stories number 21. Neighbor's daughter continues to park on our drive. I feel my husband and I have been taken advantage of and we need advice on how to make this situation as less awkward as possible. Around October last year our neighbors who we have always had a good rapport with were having issues with parking their cars on their drive. Their drive only holds 3 cars but between them, mother, father and 2 kids, they had 4 cars. One of the kids, their son was in the process of selling their car and moving abroad so my husband and I trying to be friendly said that they were welcome to use the space on our drive holds 2 parking spaces and we have 1 car, to park one of their cars until the son sold his car. They were extremely grateful so for the past 5 months their daughter has been using our drive. Now my husband noticed that the son's car was sold a week ago but yet the daughter continued to park on our drive. We didn't initially say anything as we needed to be sure it was definitely sold before asking her to park back in her parents' drive. We were hoping she'd just take the initiative and do it herself without us intervening. Neither my husband or me like any type of confrontation. Yes, I know it's silly, so the fact we now have to speak to one of them to ask to get her car moved off our drive is daunting. How can we politely ask for the car to be moved? I appreciate it's not a big deal as we rarely use the drive but when we have visitors on occasions they struggle to park and it's the principle of being taken advantage of. Stories number 22. Aita for not covering my friend's meal when she ordered more. So me and a group of friends went out to eat after midterm. It was a casual places where you pay at the end, and everyone was ordering whatever they wanted. I got something small as usual because I'm trying to save some cash. So I had water and a basic pasta that was on special. A few others did the same. But one of my friend ordered an appetizer, a big entree, and dessert, and she got a drink too. No judgment, she can do her, but it definitely added up. When the check came, she suddenly goes, "Let's just split it evenly." I was like, what? I thought we were all paying for what we ordered. She said it would be easier and that it's what we always do, which is not true by the way. I told her I only brought enough for what I ate, plus a tip. She rolled her eyes and said it's not that deep, and that I'm being cheap over a few bucks. But it wasn't a few bucks. It would have almost doubled what I was planning to spend. I didn't budge and paid for my stuff only. My other friends didn't care and split the bill evenly. Now she's being super passive and told our other friend that I embarrassed her in front of everyone and made her look greedy. But like, she assumed we'd cover part of her extra food without even asking. Stories number 23. Got called a creep today because I'm dating an autistic man. Me and my boyfriend have been together for 3 months. He is on the spectrum, and I am not. I do not care at all that he's autistic, nor have I even really put much thought into it. We have an extremely normal relationship. He's a person that treats me really well and is super funny, cute and kind in general. Today my friend made a joke that actually hurt my feelings. She told me that I basically am taking advantage of a man that I'm with because he's disabled and that it's creepy. Then she laughed like she was joking. I don't even look at him as disabled, he has kids, lives a very ordinary life, is a plumber, drives, has his own house. I just feel like that was so rude and the fact that she's implying I'm a predator for being with a consenting adult with an extremely common neuro disorder was not funny to me, joke or not. I really hate the stigma behind autism. Stories number 24. Am I wrong for questioning my whole relationship after I found out my 27F, BF, 30M, was pocketing my rent money? We've been together 5 years. We live on a property my boyfriend's dad is renting. His mom and dad live in one house on the property and we live on the other. When we moved in, he told us the rent was $1,600 for the house, so $800 each for my BF and I. A steal, I know. However, I just found out that my BF and his dad came to an agreement at the start of the lease last spring that he, his dad, would pay our rent in full and that the money I pay my BF for rent, to, I had presumed, pass along to his dad for rent, my BF could keep. He said they wanted to help him out by paying his rent and his car while he lived here with them, so this was how they thought to do it. I immediately felt betrayed for not being involved in knowing about this, but I also felt like it's a bit unethical because I wasn't aware of where my rent money was going. I had been suspicious for a while, but I finally had the courage to ask. He admitted it and my stomach sank. His first reaction was to be mad at me for being upset about it. His POV is that they didn't tell me because it's not my business since I'm paying rent regardless. Therefore, if his dad wants to give him $800 a month for his car and also pay his rent to help him, this is a less roundabout way of doing it. He just keeps the $800 I'm sending for rent. He said in essence, it isn't my money, since it's rent money, so I shouldn't care where it ends up. He also said his dad asked him to keep it between him and his parents, so he was put in a weird position. I can see how this logically makes sense, but I can't help but feel like I've been paying him $800 a month to keep without my knowledge. I'm not upset of his parents helping him, that is between them, and I don't want to have my rent covered either. I'm grateful for the cheap rent and believe I should be paying rent. It's just the dishonesty and the fact that he just transferred my rent money into his bank account without telling me for a year that feels so wrong to me. We split everything else equally, like groceries, utilities, and internet, except the occasional date night where he pays. I'm close with his family and frequently have them over for dinner, so it hurts that they all knew something I didn't. I have a full-time job and a side job. My BF is self-employed but doesn't make too much from that. I don't typically mind, but I would like us to be more open with each other about finances. I don't know how to move forward from this, even though I want to be understanding and kind to him because he says it's a nuanced situation and that I should know he isn't the type of person to steal from me. He's apologized for the dishonesty but still doesn't see the issue. The relationship hasn't been perfect, but it has been worth staying in for 5 years. I just don't know how to get rid of this gut feeling that this situation doesn't sit right with me. Plus, rent was due yesterday and I haven't paid him yet. Is this grounds for a breakup or can we work through it? If so, how? Or is it truly none of my business? Any advice is so appreciated. Stories number 25. Got Karen today in a parking lot while my toddler screamed in the back seat. Just need to vent. Today was one of those days where you just think, wow, people really suck sometimes. I was parked, getting out of my car, when the wind blew my door open gently. It barely touched the car next to mine. No visible dent, just a possible mark. I immediately acknowledged it and offered to exchange info. When I explained it was the wind, not to avoid responsibility, but just to clarify that it wasn't a careless act, she cut me off with, no, something like this happened before and it cost $2,000. My car is new. At that point, it felt less like she was assessing real damage and more like she was trying to guilt trip and manipulate me. She even pointed out a completely unrelated mark further down and insisted that was from my door too, which made no sense based on where the door touched. And then it escalated fast. She started filming me and my toddler, who was crying in his car seat, scared and confused. She threatened to call the police. I was trying to stay calm, juggle my phone, pull up my insurance app, and soothe my child, and she just kept the camera on us. I could feel my son's distress behind me, and that's when I lost it emotionally and called 911 myself. I didn't feel safe or respected, and I needed a neutral record of what was happening. After I gave her my info, I went back into the car to comfort my son, who by then was screaming and crying from the stress. I looked up, and she was still filming us. I was literally just trying to calm my scared toddler, and she kept her phone pointed at us like we were some kind of show. That moment broke me, and it didn't stop there. When I showed her that I'd called 911, she told the police I had banged on her window, which was absolutely false. I simply held up my phone near the window to show her the call screen. She also accused me of locking my child in the car with no air circulation, which was so far from the truth. I was right there, window cracked, AC on. It was just another manipulative accusation meant to make me panic. She even lied about having the same insurance as me, USAA, when I first mentioned mine, but it turned out she was with Geico. Just more weird, unnecessary power moves. I know she probably assumed she could intimidate me because I'm an immigrant, English isn't my first language, and I look like someone who might not push back. But I didn't back down. I gave her my info, I made the call, and I stood my ground. My husband showed up by Uber when I called him, and for the first time in the whole interaction, I felt not alone. I'm still feeling the stress hours later, but I'm proud of how I handled it. I didn't yell. I didn't film her back. I didn't escalate. I protected my son and kept my dignity, because I want him to grow up knowing, we do not back down from unfairness. We do not let people shame us into silence. And even when our hearts are pounding, we speak up. Thanks for letting me unload this here. Just needed to breathe it out somewhere real. Stories number 26. I excluded my dad partner from any and all plans for my child's birth. Aita. Edit. I reposted from Aita to see what Mark and his waffles would think. This was posted 45 days-ish ago and I have an update that I'll write up shortly. Hi all, long-timer lurker. So bit of a backstory, my mother died years ago, 20 years plus, and my dad has had his partner for 15 years or more. I have a wife and child and one on the way. Also I'll detail the pertinent reason why I have excluded her, but this is one of many stunts she pulled. Also we are UK based. On to the situation. When my wife were having our first child, we planned for my dad's partner to pick us up from hospital after the birth, which turned out to be late. Baby wasn't planning on coming out. So it's mid-December, we exit the maternity ward and I ring dad's partner to find out where she was, and she states she is in the main corridor of the hospital and can't see us. We were on the main corridor. After a couple of minutes of saying, "You're not here," we can see the length of it, and it being 10 p.m. we realize she went to the entirely wrong hospital 30 miles away. Her response was to say, "Oh well, I'm sorry," and to hang up and refuse to answer her phone, leaving myself, my wife and 4-day-old daughter in a hospital with no lift home in the middle of winter. Luckily my dad came to rescue and picked us up. The other incident was her callous response to my wife's mid-term miscarriage, which was, "There is a reason it died, move on." To say the least, we do not want her around us, not has she been for years now, but she knows my wife is pregnant and is asking to have a role in the birth. I told my dad, "There isn't a cat's chance in hell I will let that woman near our family or be involved. She cannot be trusted, nor is she wanted near us." Bear in mind my dad is a total wet lettuce who tries to keep the peace. So he kind of plays piggy in the middle to try and smooth things over. Well, after she found out, it's been a social media blitz of complaining about being excluded, including ruining his name reveal as well by accident, and well as getting her kids to ask. So last night I made a public FB and IG post explaining exactly why she is excluded and making it perfectly clear she isn't welcome in our lives. Some friends commented I was a bit harsh. My wife thinks it's really sweet I'm going up to bat for us like this, and my dad is kinda upset I didn't explain how I felt. So Reddit, I'm feeling a tad bit regretful as I'm not normally this hot-headed. Did I go too far? Am I the holy edit? I've seen this a few times mentioned. So my dad is very old, mid-80s, and doesn't use social media and is of a generation that just wants a quiet life now. I'm also fairly low contact with him generally anyway, but for not real reason, he just prefers it that way. Also, I'm asking as I suffer from anxiety and tend to overthink my actions after events like this, and I just wanted some others' opinions on it, all outside of the people involved. Finally, the reveal of the name was her adding our baby's name to her post after hearing my dad mention it in a call with me. Wife and I haven't publicly announced it at the point she posted it. Also, thank you for your responses, I do appreciate it. Stories number 27. My sister-in-law tried to have her wedding at my wedding. Hello everyone. Oh, do I have some drama for you? It could also be some pettiness in there as well. So I, 34, F, have been with my husband, 36, M, we'll call him Jared, for 14 years, married for 10. Our 10-year wedding anniversary was in September of last year, but in January of 2024 we decided to renew our vows since we didn't get to have a big wedding. Jared and I got married pretty quickly. Well, because I was going through court to get my ex's parental rights terminated, it took 3 years to finalize because we all know how long courts take. But the reason I was terminating his parental rights? Well, I'll leave that up for your imagination. Courts don't just terminate parental rights unless there's a legitimate reason for the best interest in the child. So anyway, my husband has been in my son's life since my son was 2 weeks old, so he's been there since day one. Anyway, after the court was done, Jared asked what the process was to adopt my son. The court said that we had to be married for 2 years before we could even start the process, so my husband went go a ring, still got down on one knee to ask me to marry him. Then he whisked me away to get married with my mom and his mom as a witness. He didn't want to make the process longer than it needed to be. I love Jared for that. At that time, our daughter we share together was 1 and my son was 4. He truly is amazing. Okay, now back to the story. I'm a Halloween freak. Anything and everything Halloween is my absolute spirit animal. So Jared told me we were going to renew our vows on October 31st of 2024, and I couldn't have been more excited. I started making phone calls to family members, friends, and everyone in between. My mother-in-law, Mary, is a big help with our family. I'm closer to her than my own mother. So it wasn't a hard choice to ask if she could help. I started ordering my dress, which of course was black. Can't have a Halloween wedding in white. Besides, black is my color. I put the down payment on the venue, vendors, and catering. Of course our food was also going to be Halloween themed. We were having chicken, pork, or steak all put on the plates decorated to look like some type of ghost, monster, mummy, etc. Decorated with Nightmare Before Christmas with Jack and Sally at the altar. I was just absolutely loving every minute of it. So here's where we get to my future sister-in-law, Amy, wanting to get married on the same day. She started telling Mary she wanted to get married to Jared's brother, Justin, on Halloween as well. She just hadn't told anyone yet. She said she was upset I stole her day. Like what? You didn't tell anyone, so how was I supposed to know? But even if Amy wanted to get married on Halloween, I still would have gotten married on Halloween as well, but I would have pushed it out until October 31st, 2025. I wouldn't have minded, but I already put deposits down, so I couldn't just change the date on the venue for one. Someone already had it booked for October 31st of 2025 and I didn't want to cancel and lose out on the deposit, so I just apologized and told her she could do it next Halloween at a different venue. She was not happy. I spoke to Mary about what to do. She said there's nothing we can do, as I announced before Amy did, that we were doing it on Halloween, and if Amy had an issue with it then she should have brought it up when Jared and I told everyone. I would have been more than happy to wait a year. However, it's too late. Mary spoke to Amy about this without me asking her to, she was just trying to help. But this made things worse. I then started getting text messages from Amy saying that I was being unfair since I was already married and she wasn't yet, so I should just transfer everything over to her and she would pay me back. She also told me that I need to stop talking to Mary as much so she can get close with her too. I was baffled, did she really just ask me those things? So I asked her, you want me to stop talking to Mary as much and give you everything I was planning for my wedding? Amy said yes. I declined. I told Amy it's a 14-year friendship I've gained with Mary and I was not changing that for her. I also said no to transferring everything over to her. Amy then suggested we both get married at the same time, since it was already ready to go. I told Amy she is not going to get married at the same time and same place in front of my family that she has never met. She just said she will invite some of her family as well to make it less awkward. I again declined. Amy took well, or so I thought. I didn't hear any more about it for months. If only I knew what she had planned. The day of my wedding everything was great, things were going down without a hitch, bridesmaids were getting ready, it was just so beautiful. Justin came to knock on my bridal door to thank me. Thank me? For what? He said that Amy told him to not say anything but that her and I were planning to surprise Jared, that his brother will be getting married the same day at the same time and it would be special. I told him absolutely not. I told him everything. Justin was embarrassed and apologized. He said he had no idea. He said some of her family were already showing up. I didn't put my budget for this many more mouths to feed. I was freaking out. But then, I had the best idea. I called Amy to my bridal room, told her how sorry I was and I was being super unfair. I told her I spoke to the venue and they agreed to do a double wedding, but it would have to wait until after my wedding and reception. I said to inform her family to leave until then. She was so excited. I then went to the venue, explained what was about to happen, but they told me not to worry, as this isn't the first time something like this has happened. As they will have the doors locked and no one will let her in when she arrives, plus Justin already knew this is what I told Amy. He agreed to tell Amy that they will not be getting married on that day at that venue before chaos comes down like the wrath. I did feel bad for her family, but they all live in the same state as us, so they thankfully didn't spend a fortune to get to the venue. They all just went out, ate dinner and enjoyed themselves. They weren't even mad at me at the end. They were mad at Amy for deceiving them. Anyway, I had the most amazing wedding. We drank, enjoyed ourselves, danced, ate. Jared and I were so happy. The next day I got a bunch of text messages from Amy apologizing to me about how she acted. I already know Justin told her to make things right or he wasn't going to marry her. I don't want them to split, they have a child together, and other than this I didn't have huge issues with her. I mean, I wasn't friends with her, but I didn't hate her either. I now know they have a venue somewhere else and are getting married this Halloween. Stories number 28. Found the affair partner. Back in December, I found out my wife had been cheating on me. She did the typical trickle-truthing, but I finally got her to admit that she was fingered by this guy she met at an airport bar while I was out of town. We all know she wasn't just fingered. She'd only known him for a month and met him while traveling for school, but he understood her. He flew across the country to see her while she planned to have me to visit a friend I hadn't seen in a long time. I immediately retained a lawyer and got everything planned, have been living with just myself and the dog in the house since the start of January. She moved out to a new rental. I've been doing all the self-care stuff, working out, joined a recreational sports league, group trail running, etc. And have been feeling pretty good. Definitely have my ups and downs. I knew the man's nickname, or middle name, I wasn't sure, and that he lived out of state, but that was all. I had built up this image of who he was, physically, in my mind over the past few months. A tall, Greek, chiseled man with a great-shaped beard and nice faded haircut. Well, during discovery, I was able to see her bank statements. She'd been paying this guy back over Venmo for dates they'd been on, so I finally had an actual name. I looked him up and, although she blocked me on Facebook, she hadn't on LinkedIn. Sure enough, there he was, showing a mutual connection to my soon-to-be ex. I'm spiraling right now. I didn't think it'd hit this hard, but I guess having an actual face and name to this whole ordeal is worse than imagining. It doesn't help that he looks like a worse version of Jimmy Carter. I know there's no valid reason, but why'd she do this to me? It hurts that I was so invested, and she's off living it up with her AP, buying new lingerie, doing fun dates. I just have to suffer. There is no justice, but I just have to accept that and keep moving on. Thanks for reading, I just needed to vent. Stories number 29. My messy past came out and now my husband won't touch me. I 24M have been married to my husband Caleb 23M for 18 months together since we were 20 and 21. When I was 17 to 18 I was in a relationship with an awful guy. He hurt me physically and emotionally and on a few occasions essayed me. Caleb knew that I was with a bad guy, but I never went into specifics because I just wanted to forget about it. The only person I told everything to was my best friend Sarah 24F, and it was thanks to her I was able to leave him. My family were religious and didn't approve of me and Caleb, so I no longer talked to them, so they couldn't help. I was out with Sarah about 3 weeks ago and we were drinking, and I must have said some concerning things because she told Caleb that she was worried about me, and he sat me down the next day and asked me about it, but I didn't even remember saying half the things I apparently said because I was drunk. We talked and I ended up opening up more about what my ex did, and I can see the shift since then. He won't even touch me in any capacity. I tried to hold his hand the other day and he brushed me off, and trying to do anything more than that is a fever dream. I've tried to talk to him about it, but it's futile. He keeps telling me he's just worried about me and I can't get through to him that I cope in my own way, and him basically rejecting me isn't helping. What's worse is how he has been talking to me, being ever so gentle, ever so calm, checking up on me how I'm feeling, and I hate it. I know it comes from a place of love, but it feels so belittling. I can deal with his anger, his sarcasm, open warfare, but his pity I can't deal with. I hate what it's done to us. It just feels like he doesn't see me as me anymore. It's like he looks at me and sees a victim. It's like I'm some broken animal that needs to learn to trust again. And I can't even talk to anybody about it because it would mean telling more people about my past, and Sarah is being supportive but she doesn't fully get it. Stories number 30. Aita for telling a guy sitting next to me to stop snorting at a restaurant. Not the a-hole. I, 45 female, recently was eating dinner with a good friend and former neighbor who moved away 6 months ago. We had been there for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. We were talking and laughing and being pretty quiet for a noisy restaurant, since we both do a kind of silent laugh, one of the things we have in common. We were just served when the man, older guy about 65 maybe, sitting at the table next to us had finished his meal. He was waiting for his check and looking at his cell phone. When all of a sudden, he started making sucking noises, like my grandparents used to clean their teeth, and then he snorted. And it wasn't just one snort, it was multiple and deep each time. It literally echoed off the walls. Now the first time, I let it go and didn't say anything but had to fight gagging. I happen to have an extremely sensitive gag reflex. And sounds like that can get me started. Meaning up to starting to vomit. Not only that, if I make my way to the bathroom it is like my brain says, okay, let loose, and I always loose it. So I stopped talking, turned my head and did breathing exercises to try to not go down that rabbit hole. I just got cleared and we were chatting and eating again when he did it again. So again the same process. But this time I gave him a look. Because I am not his mom and he is old enough to know manners, whether he knows them or not, well obviously not. He clearly didn't care or didn't understand why I gave him an angry grin. Not too long after that he did it again. And if it happened a fourth time I would not make it to the bathroom. And not only that, he was ruining my meal. So after getting myself through plugging my ears and humming, I asked him to please stop snorting. He looked at me and said, "Mind your own business, little lady. I am enjoying my meal like everyone else here." I replied with, "Well, if you do it again I will puke and make sure I do it on you." He looked really angry and I instantly felt like a teenager being a brat for that reply. I almost said sorry when he got his check. He signed it and left. I had to take breaks because I had waves of feeling like I was going to start gagging. I did make it through but almost lost it when I got outside on the walk to my car. I was raised to be polite despite the situation, and I normally am, but I almost ruined dinner for everyone had I not been able to calm that reflex. That little lady comment had me seeing red. Needless to say, not my most mature moment. Aita for chastising him? Or should I have tried to make it to the bathroom knowing I wouldn't have made it? Edit. I am aware of misophonia. The volume of these snorts was quite literally reverberating off the walls, and my friend agreed it was way over the top and offensive for a restaurant. So it's not just me, and not misophonia. The teeth sucking was more in line with an annoying noise. The request was calm, and though I didn't quote it, I was calm and polite and asked please. Several have posted, he could have health issues, to which if he had done it while he was eating, I would have just paid for my drinks and left. Some people have tics that they can't help, like clicking or Tourette's. This was not a tic. It was after he was done eating and seemed to be part of a post-meal ritual that I truly believe someone has pointed out to him in the past. Given his reply, I see that I was wrong in threatening to puke on him. I was so irritated about the little lady comment. Pleading face. Again, not my finest moment. But I shouldn't have to leave because of someone else being so offensive and lacking etiquette that their actions are literally reverberating through the room. I didn't know if he had ordered dessert, so I didn't know how long we all had to listen to this cacophony, when I asked him. He hadn't received the check yet. My gag reflex, though sensitive, has never been challenged like this in a restaurant. Never once. So it's not so sensitive that I shouldn't expose myself to the possibility of noises in public. I do have methods to calm it. This was excessive and in all my life has never happened like this. Stories number 31. My mother is mad because my boyfriend isn't ready to get married yet. My mother texted my BF today that him and I are going to get married next spring. For context, we're both 22 and have only been dating for 5 months. He replied really nicely, and told her that while he wants to spend the rest of his life with me, he isn't ready to get married so young and wants to pay attention to his career first. Which I think is very valid. I don't want to get married right now either. But she can't take it when someone says no to her. She's now extremely mad and thinks he's just using me and told me to break up with him. This isn't the first time. She once called him and he was busy and couldn't pick up, so she decided that he's cheating with multiple women and I should leave him. I really can't take the stress of this, it's so disturbing when she's roaming around the house so mad. She's waiting for me to say something so we can fight over it and my fight responses are permanently in a triggered state because of her. Stories number 32. Ex-GF refuses to move out. My ex-GF and I broke up a few months ago. We were together for 3 years and living together for nearly a year. I broke up with her because she cheated on me with another guy. Since only my name is on the lease, I can kick her out but I didn't because she has a 5-year-old daughter who also lives with us that I care about. After we broke up, I told her that she can stay until finds a new place and for her to pay half the rent. I was paying 100% of the rent and still am. Not only has she not been paying any rent, but she refuses to look for a new place. I kept asking her who the search is going and she says that it's going but I think she is not searching for an apartment and is telling me otherwise. If it was only her, I'd kick her out but I don't want to make a 5-year-old homeless. Stories number 33. 8+ hour wedding, bride's dad calling her the favorite child, potty humor, and a side of misogyny. I was at a wedding last night and it was literally more than 8 hours long. Can we reflect on the mere fact that a basic Catholic wedding was 8+ hours long, 80 degrees, no AC in the church, thought old fam members were legit going to pass out and fall over. Just a long, sweaty, day. At the welcome party, groom's family did speeches, not bride's which is weird but okay, where they only congratulated the groom on his former athletic accolades from 10 years ago. Maybe they don't like her. The only semi-wedding part was when they said, just know John Doe likes Sally Smith so much, likes. I know the groom has cheated before, common knowledge among acquaintances even, and is kind of a piece of shit. They kept saying oh John Doe loves golf so Sally picked up golf. John Doe loves to ski so Sally picked up skiing, okay and? She chases him like a puppy. It was painful. The couple are not into fancy stuff and the bride was forced to wear pure bright white and the theme was Pepto-Bismol pink, never seen her wear pink once in the 6 years Eve been around her. Next day, hot wedding, they're more like chill outdoorsy couple and groom's family is like country club priss so I think they planned/paid for most of the wedding, right on BC shit's expensive. During bride's family speeches, they only talked about how athletic John Doe is, how Sally Smith, who is one of 5 kids and a twin, is dad's favorite child, but wasn't a joke. Mo's speech talked about a lot of literal potty humor, legit poop and fart talk while dinner was serviced. BC they both have IBS and like Taco Bell. Even bride's family only said, Sally you are so lucky to have John, TF happened to, we are so happy for you guys, so luck you guys found each other, take her side as her family since his family didn't the night before. Perhaps let us not support the cheater, it was wild honestly. I feel really sorry for her and I hope she had a good day for herself but just hearing all that is kind of shocking. Why is this an athletic review? Why can't people just use plural and be happy for them instead of saying she's lucky she found him, not that he's particularly impressive. Stories number 34. Aita for refusing to give my grandma back her wedding ring after she gave it to me, by accident. Advice needed. Okay so I know this sounds bad but hear me out. My grandma, 85F, gave me, 26F, her wedding ring about 6 months ago during this really emotional family dinner where she was talking about getting older and wanting everyone to have something meaningful from her before she goes. She gave me the ring because she said I was the only one who still believed in real love, her words not mine, and honestly I cried when she gave it to me. We hugged and everything, it was a whole moment. Fast forward to last week, my cousin, 29F, gets engaged and suddenly my grandma calls me and says she wants the ring back so she can give it to her. Like she actually said, I didn't mean to give it to you permanently, and that she was just emotional that day. I told her no, not in a rude way, I just said like hey that ring meant something to me too and I've been wearing it every day since she gave it to me. It feels like a piece of her and it honestly helped me through a breakup recently. She got really weird and said I was being selfish and immature and that the ring was meant to stay in the married side of the family. I'm single BTW as of now, things might change in the future. Now my whole family is saying I'm stealing from an old woman and taking advantage of her memory loss, which I didn't even know she had. Like, no one mentioned that until now, and my cousin posted some cryptic Insta story about what's meant for you won't be stolen by someone desperate, and I swear it was about me. I feel like if she really gave it to me and meant it at the time, I shouldn't have to give it back just because someone else got engaged. Like, that's not my fault, right? Aita for keeping the ring. Stories number 35. I made my own money at home, and amazingly it worked. Somewhere north of 20 years ago, I got some instruction on how coin-operated vending machines accurately counted the coins you put in, and why it was kind of hard to trick them. I was fascinated, and wanted to know how the newer, at the time, bill-accepting machine worked. I was told that info was secret because if you knew how, it was pretty easy to fool the machines. Keep in mind this was probably around 2000 or so. I assume the machines are better now. Anyways, this fascinated me. It was before YouTube, so I couldn't just go look it up, but I started just looking at the bills I had. One thing I noticed was that, with Canadian bills back then, maybe still, each bill was slightly different sized. All the $5 were the same, but different from the $10s and so on. Boredom and a lack of forethought got the better of me and I tinkered. I had an old color scanner, and a beater inkjet printer. I scanned and printed both sides of some bills, and carefully sticked the sides together, and then cut them to the exact size of the real bill. I did that with a $5 and a $10. For shits and giggles, I went to an automated car wash and put one of my bogus bills in the change machine. Bzzzt, the machine spit it back out. I noticed that a corner was bent, so I straightened it, and fed the bill the opposite way. Cling cockling 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 cling, as $5 worth of quarters dumped out. Holy shit. It worked. I tried the $10. Cling cockling 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 cling, this time 40 quarters dumped out. I looked around, realized what I had just done and panicked. I left the car wash immediately, and then drove home. At home, I couldn't believe what had just happened. And then all of a sudden I couldn't not try to replicate it. I made another $10 and a $20 and went to a different gas station. Cling cockling 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 cling, as $10 worth of quarters dumped out. Again. At a different change machine. Holy crap. This is real. Then I tried the $20 bill. Bzzzt, the bogus bill came back out. I tried again. Bzzzt, no go once again one more time. Bzzzt, no such luck. It didn't like the $20, but the $5 and $10 seemed to be a lock. Then it started to get stupid. I told a friend of mine about what I'd done, and almost instantly we started making plans to become big-time counterfeiters. We started figuring out where to go, how to avoid camera, etc. Then I finally came to my senses. This is fucking stupid. What do we do with shit tons of quarters? Do I really want to end up in jail for this? I called it quits, and that was it. I still don't know why it worked. Was it the size? It wasn't the quality of the bills, you couldn't fool a blind person with them. Maybe it was just the machines were hot garbage, I don't know. But I guarantee you, I got $25 worth of quarters by exchanging my dog shit faux bills in a change machine. Stories number 36. I caught my partner cheating with his cousin. Listener write in. Morgan, I really hope you see this. You give amazing advice and I really need it. I, 27F, have been dating Samuel, 32M, for 3 years. We met on a dating app and eventually moved in together. Samuel is handsome. Like, he could charm anyone. Even his cousin apparently. Samuel was fresh out of a relationship where his ex-girlfriend, Casey, was emotionally abusive. He hasn't told me much, but I know that she would yell at him for doing the simplest things. Towards the end, Casey began to hit Samuel and throw objects at him. He has a scar on his chin from when she threw a plate at him. Scary, right? I had been living with my parents and going to college full-time for my BSN when Samuel walked into my life. I had only been in one serious relationship before, so I was excited to be meeting a man who I liked, more than liked, he was sexy, and who liked me. Samuel made me feel supported and loved in a way that no one else had before. And he was great in the bedroom. He would buy me flowers every few weeks, and he always respected my boundaries. Around our 1-year anniversary, I moved into his apartment. So, everything was great for the next year. I got to go to Thanksgiving with his family, where I met his parents, his teenage sister, and Brianna, 25F, Samuel's cousin. When I met Brianna, I was immediately envious of her body. Opposing my wide curves, she was skinny, tall, and had really nice tits. I was also jealous of her relationship with Samuel. Samuel and her had grown up together, and they got along so well. Finally, about 2 weeks ago, I got home early from school. My professor's daughter had had an emergency that needed to be attended to. I had never been suspicious of Samuel and Brianna's relationship, but I guess I should have been. I went into our apartment, tired from a long day of lectures and a lab. I walked through the door, and immediately got hit by the smell of Brianna's perfume. She always wears way too much of some really strong-smelling one, so I could tell she was here. But still, not too suspicious, Samuel had this day off of work and they were cousins. I assumed they were in the living room, which you have to walk through the kitchen to get to. Instead of going to say hi, I went to change into more comfortable clothes first. I take off my shoes, walk into our bedroom, and see Brianna on top of Samuel. Whoa! I immediately gasped and ran away like in a movie. Samuel rushed out immediately and saw me on the couch crying. He was tugging on his shirt, still in underwear. I heard Brianna leaving, but I couldn't see her through the kitchen. I soon stood up, ignoring Samuel trying to explain himself, packed some clothes, and drove the 20 minutes to my parents' house. Samuel has been texting me and calling me, but I haven't said much to him. I told my parents that Samuel had gone on a month-long trip and that I was lonely in our apartment. They were glad to have me over for a few weeks, but my month is up in 2 weeks and I don't know what to do then. I haven't talked to anyone about this. I really love Samuel and wish we could work through this, but I just can't imagine being with someone who has slept with their cousin. Just the thought disgusts me. I seriously don't know what to do. Please help. Update, April 5th, 7 p.m. Hi all, I just wanted to thank everyone for the advice and support. I have read almost every comment and am trying my best to respond to all that are relevant. I just wanted to let you all know that I will be updating as soon as this situation is wrapped up. I think I will take the main advice I've seen in the comments and do the following. Talk to my parents about what happened, explain why I'm actually staying at their house. Reach out to Casey, hear her side of the story. Talk to Samuel's parents, hope for them not to take their son's side. Get my best friend, Skylar, to come with me to Samuel's apartment and gather my belongings. Cut it off with Samuel. I really appreciate every one of you, especially the individual, you know who you are, who messaged me with comforting words. Again, I will update when I have something new to say. Thank you, and I hope the rest of your day goes well. I know mine won't.